Accelerator. DTNA parts keep trucks singing and businesses humming. For a customized experience, speedy delivery, and comprehensive selection of over 175,000 quality truck parts, go to DTNAparts.com. DTNA Parts. Parts that move you.
Winter weather predictions can be unreliable. Be prepared for whatever's in store this year with Howe's Diesel Treat and Howe's Diesel Lifeline. The nation's #1 anti-gel, Diesel Treat is the only guaranteed anti-gel on the market. And Diesel Lifeline has absolutely no harmful alcohol and requires no mixing or fuel filter replacements. Available nationwide, Howe's products are designed to keep you rolling through the toughest conditions. Howe's, tested, trusted, guaranteed. Visit Howe'sProducts.com.
COVID-19 has cast a spotlight on the stark inequalities that drive poverty. The poorest communities in the U.S. and around the world are suffering the most. Oxfam believes we can put systems in place to protect health and livelihoods in the future if we work together with dignity and compassion. Learn how you can help offer safety to the most vulnerable and fight for a more resilient future at oxfamamerica.org. Sponsored by Oxfam America.
The St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund provides free health and wellness programs for drivers to help prevent some common medical conditions seen in the industry. These programs include diabetes prevention, Rigs Without Cigs, a tobacco cessation program, Healthy Habits for the Long Haul, a 12-week total body wellness program, a vaccine voucher program that includes free flu, shingles, and pneumonia vaccines, and GPS, Get Preventative Screenings, which includes free at-home cancer screening tests. These programs are available to Class A over-the-road truck drivers. For more information or to sign up for a program, go to the St. Christopher Truckers Relief Fund website at truckersfund.org. These programs are made possible by Southern Recipe, Call on Doc, Road Pro Family of Brands, OOIDA, and Grinds. Again, you can go to truckersfund.org for more.
As an owner-operator, you have unique needs to ensure you can run a profitable business, deliver on time, and still have time at home with the family. The experts at Fleet Owner bring their expertise to you each week with the For the Driver newsletter, arriving in your inbox every Wednesday morning. This free newsletter will help you stay on point with all of your goals, understand upcoming regulations, and be on the forefront of breaking trucking news. Sign up today at fleetowner.com.
WWTN, Hendersonville, Nashville. From the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios, Super Talk 99.7.
WTN. 5 o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And crews say the roads are still dangerous. So are the temperatures. No more snow on the way, but anything left uncleared from yesterday will be very troublesome this morning on the roads. And then there are the temperatures.
Wind chill advisory is in effect for most of the mid-state until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Now, we also have a wind chill warning in effect for far southeastern Middle Tennessee, Franklin, Moore, and Lincoln counties. And this is because the wind chill through tomorrow morning could very well range between 5 to 15, even 20 degrees below zero. We still have plenty of slick and icy spots on roadways. There still may be actually a couple of flurries coming down in some spots, but nothing that's going to add on to any additional accumulation.
That's Stefano DiPietro. Meanwhile, Channel 4's Jordan James checking road conditions in Williamson County.
On our commute from Nashville to Brentwood, we encountered several stalled vehicles on the side of the road. There were also a number of accidents on the road. And like I said, despite, the conditions appearing to be better, the ice is a real concern, which is why officials say, hey, do not be out if you don't have to be out.
Now in Nashville, the on and off ramps to 440 are ice and snow covered. So if you have to drive today, crews say you need to take that into account. Getting off the interstates and getting on can be dangerous on those ramps. We've got the full forecast and a traffic update in just 3.5 minutes. Right now, we got to get to election 2024.
We want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all.
Former President Trump, the big winner of the Iowa GOP caucuses, Stephen Portnoy.
Donald Trump's margin of victory here in Iowa was 2 times larger than in any previous modern competitive Republican caucus. 30 points behind him, Ron DeSantis edged out Nikki Haley for a second-place finish. Haley, who's been polling much better in New Hampshire than DeSantis, says it's now a two-person race.
That is Stephen Portnoy reporting for Election 2024. Escalating tensions in the Middle East, Iran getting more aggressive, launching deadly missile strikes in Iraq near a U.S. consulate. And in the market numbers report. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Wall Street reopens this morning after the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Here's Daria Albinger.
European markets were mostly lower. Asian markets were mostly higher for the day. Germany's economy shrank 0.3% as the former European powerhouse continues to struggle with more expensive energy, higher interest rates, a lack of skilled labor, and a homegrown budget crisis. More than a dozen states are giving themselves the power to override local zoning restrictions, which would block large-scale renewable energy projects. Some states are implementing ambitious goals which require utility providers to generate 100% carbon-free energy by 2040. Local officials and residents who don't want wind turbines and solar panels on their land, however, are pushing back. Conservative advocates are taking a number of challenges to business policies to the Supreme Court. They include hiring goals, anti-bias training, and contract programs for minority-owned businesses.
All right, futures ahead of the opening bell on Wall Street. Looks like they are down. Dow futures off 150, S&P down 24, NASDAQ down 119. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Nashville's morning news with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
507 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. How's your morning going? Been a good morning for Donald Trump. Bad morning for Nikki Haley. DeSantis, okay. And I think that Vivek Ramaswamy really coming out a winner last night in Iowa. Going to get to all of those things and a whole lot more. But yes, it was a resounding victory for the former president last night.
We want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all.
I'm not going to tell you, he coming in, as you've no doubt heard the news, Ken Weaver was reporting it. Last night in the all-important Iowa caucus, the former president coming in at 51%. Now, a lot of folks were saying, a lot of people in the media, they were starting to plant the seeds. Donald Trump, he may not get to 50%, and supposedly that was supposed to be some big talking point for Nikki Haley and the Trump detractors was, well, he didn't get, the majority of the voters there in Iowa. Donald Trump, huge victory, huge margin, 51% of the vote there in the Iowa caucus. Ron DeSantis, by the way, coming in second place at 21%. Nikki Haley coming in third at 19%. Wait till you hear the spin from Nikki Haley. So I've got that for you. And again, Vivek Ramaswamy, who is now out, he decided to drop out of the race last night. He came in with 8% of the vote last night. So, one of the interesting things I thought was the former president, Trump, saying that, it's now time for the American people to come together.
And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problems and straighten out all of the death and destruction that we're witnessing. That's practically never been like this. It's just so important, and I want to make that a very big part of our message. We're going to come together. It's going to happen soon, too. It's going to happen soon.
All right, so let me ask you a question. How long do you think that message is going to last? And please don't get me wrong. I firmly believe that Donald Trump means that by every ounce of his fiber, of his being. I think that Donald Trump, his message he wants his message to be, let's all come together. Here's the problem, though. The problem is that when you're the only one that feels like that, when it's, two sides or multiple sides, and you've got, shots being fired in any different direction, and you're the only guy that is up there raising your hand saying, let's all come together. Well, then, that request for peace and that request for coming together is going to be short-lived, because I guarantee you that the shots are going to keep coming against Donald Trump. And you heard him. Whether you are a Trumper, a never-Trumper, whether you're a liberal, a progressive, a member of the media, whatever it is, he wants everybody to come together. That's just not going to happen. I believe that he means it. I believe that he is sincere. I don't believe that that's going to happen. And here's the thing that I would also say, because let's face it, Donald Trump is really shrewd. He knows the attacks from the left are going to keep coming. He knows that. And so he's saying that knowing darn right well and good that that's really not going to come to reality. Because let's face it, he did say the same thing after he won in 2016. And as he was making that victory speech in 2016, as he was doing that, the Democrats were planning on ways to impeach the president that very moment. And so don't get me wrong. I love the message of Donald Trump. I really do. I just don't believe that it's reality. Moving on. Trump has a long way to go. Up next is New Hampshire, where, it's interesting when you look at the numbers in New Hampshire, because let's all be honest. I mean, we knew that Trump was going to do well in Iowa. We didn't really know how well, but it just depends now on what numbers you believe when it comes to New Hampshire coming up next. Iowa, we saw where the polling was, and the polling by and large, matched what the actual vote was in the caucus. New Hampshire, it does show a bit of a different story, again, depending on the polling. Some polling shows that he and Nikki Haley are both tied at 40%. Other polling shows not quite. We'll get into that. Ramaswamy, by the way, in New Hampshire is polling at 8%. DeSantis is polling at 5%. Again, depending on the polling that you're referring to. But here's the thing. With Ramaswamy out, then what does that ultimately mean? What that means, I believe, is that Ramaswamy vote, that Ramaswamy support will go to Donald Trump. Here's more from Trump's, I thought it was a great speech last night where he did actually congratulate Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis as they both battled for second place.
I want to congratulate Ron and Nikki for having a good time together. We're all having a good time together. And I think they both actually did very well. I really do. I think they both did very well. We don't even know what the outcome of second place is.
I don't think Nikki Haley did very well. She was desperate to come in second place. She falls to third place at 19%. Ron DeSantis, I think this is a big victory for DeSantis because he managed to hang on. But again, it is a far different look for him as he heads into New Hampshire, where he does not look good as far as the polling goes. And when you look at the money that was spent, and we'll get into the money, but when you look at the money that DeSantis spent in Iowa, only to come in, second place at 21% of the vote, but what he's hoping is that will catapult him into some sort of momentum. But the bottom line is for Donald Trump last night is the speech was a really good speech. He did talk a lot about unity. He did speak a lot about, trying to come together as a nation, which, by the way, again, it's easy to do when you are the winner. But I thought that his speech was great, especially knowing what the left is going to continue to do. One of the big questions is, what will this do for Nikki Haley and her campaign? I think she's wounded. No, I don't think she's going to, I don't think that she's going to drop out by any stretch of the imagination. I think that DeSantis, people are still sort of on campaign watch for him to watch how long he's going to go, Ron DeSantis, but we'll have to see how he does in New Hampshire. One of the things that Nikki Haley said in her speech last night, I think those spoke volumes as to where she is as a candidate. And by the way, one of the things that she said is an absolute provable lie. We'll get into all of that and a whole lot more straight ahead. 5:15 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN for your Tuesday, January 16th. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you, Jack. 5:15, mostly cloudy today, a high of 20. Lows tonight around 3. Right now, 10 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And it is still dangerously cold. And the roads, I don't know, is it fair to say the main thoroughfares, Ken, are okay? But it's a lot of the side roads, which, for people like me, that's how I get home is side roads. And so I'm probably going to be at the hotel for another night. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But Ken, is it safe to say the main highways, the main thoroughfares are generally speaking okay?
I will not use the word okay, Brother Dan.
Okay.
I will just tell you that there will be some spots that look okay.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden there will be some spots that are not okay.
Boy, that black ice, man. When you're driving along at 45, 50 miles an hour and you hit that black ice and you just start slip sliding away.
I will quote Murphy Show, who yesterday said everything's fine until it's not.
Yep. And then you know what my quote is? Oh, beep.
Yes.
Anyway, moving right along. Thank you, Ken. Speaking of beep, Let's talk about Nikki Haley last night. Now, the reason why I think that she is the big loser is because of the fact that we spoke yesterday at great length about candidate enthusiasm. Remember that. Well, a lot of people clearly, they just decided that they were not going to come out for Nikki Haley. And I believe the reason for that is because people just aren't excited about Nikki Haley. You know who people are excited about? Donald Trump. I think more people were excited, quite frankly, by and large, with Vivek Ramaswamy. I think Ramaswamy supporters are more enthusiastic about him than Nikki Haley's supporters are enthusiastic about her. Remember what we talked about yesterday. We spoke about the fact that a lot of Nikki Haley supporters are Democrats and independents. So that is why a lot of these folks basically in Iowa either stayed home. She just didn't have the support. And I think that her support in Iowa, I think that it was made of sand. You know what I'm talking about? Where there wasn't a big base of support. And that certainly does show in the final numbers. With Donald Trump in Iowa, I woke up, early this morning, Trump at 51%, over that 50% benchmark, at DeSantis at 21%, Haley at 19%, Vivek Ramaswamy at 8% as well. It is clear, obviously, that Donald Trump is going to be the nominee. So with Vivek out and throwing his support behind Donald Trump, that means that when DeSantis inevitably drops out, like it or not, DeSantis is going to drop out. A good amount, I believe, of that DeSantis support is going to go to Donald Trump because DeSantis has said that he will support Donald Trump if he ultimately does drop out. Now, you look at the money spent. Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, this is part of the story, I think, is that for Nikki Haley, supporting super PAC spent almost $31 million on TV in Iowa. She herself spent over $5-6 million, depending on what you read. And so she spent a lot of money for third place and a disappointing third place. DeSantis' super PAC spent about $31 million on television in Iowa and about $3 to $4 million as well from his actual campaign. And they famously went to every single county in the state, and they came in second place. Nikki Haley, by the way, she won one county or one district, and she won that one district by one vote. That is how well or not well Nikki Haley did. I do believe that Vivek Ramaswamy, I'm going to jump to Vivek real quick, because I believe that Vivek actually came out. I know that he dropped out, and I know that he, came in fourth with 8% of the vote in Iowa. But I think that for a guy that literally came out of nowhere, I think that he actually did pretty darn good, as a matter of fact. He ultimately, though, decided to drop out, and when he dropped out, and this is part of his speech last night, he dropped out, and he had some very conciliatory things to say.
We are going to suspend this presidential campaign, and this is going to have to be, there is no path for me to be the next president absent things that we don't want to see happen in this country. And I think that I am very worried for our country. I think we are skating on thin ice as a nation. And I'm also making the decision that this has to be an America First candidate in that White House. As I've said since the beginning, there are two America First candidates in this race. And earlier tonight, I called Donald Trump to tell him that I congratulated him on his victory. And now going forward, he will have my full endorsement for the presidency. And I think we're going to do the right thing for this country.
Yeah, and I think that Vivek is doing the right thing. And he clearly reads the writing on the wall. And, the former president, Donald Trump, said some very nice things about Vivek Ramaswamy on Ramaswamy's way out. And clearly, I think that my not so bold prediction is that I think that Vivek Ramaswamy, not only does he have a very big future within the Republican Party, but I also believe that he's going to be a very big part of Donald Trump's campaign moving forward. It is 5:21 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news at 5:30?
Well, no more snow accumulation is expected, but the conditions are still dangerous. We'll get you a report from the road coming up at 5:30. Also, that big win in Iowa last night. Big escalation in Mideast tensions. And results of a survey taken of the CEOs gathering in Davos, Switzerland, coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Now, Ken, I'm assuming that they had to sober these guys up, though, before they asked them the big polling questions.
Yeah.
I know, you just covered the news.
I just cover the news, Brother Dan.
It's 5:22. Listen, what we talked about yesterday in Davos, according to the Daily Mail, hookers and blow. All kinds of exotic drugs out there in Davos. That's, the big... all the politicians that claim to represent you and, $1,000 bottles of wine and champagne and caviar and ladies of the night and all kinds of things in between going out there with all those private jets.
Ladies of the night.
I don't know. What have I called them in the past? Ladies of ill repute. I think I also said that.
They're third shift workers.
Is that what you call them?
Yeah, they work third shift.
Okay, very good.
I'm sure there's probably ladies of the day, too.
Yeah, ladies of the mid-morning, perhaps. Early afternoon as well.
Second shift.
Listen.
First shift, second shift.
Moving right along.
Ladies of the brunch.
Ladies of the brunch. Very good, Johnny B. Ladies of the brunch. Anyway, got to go. 5:23, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, the Super Text line is open, 615-737-9986. I believe, Johnny, give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. Cameras working today? Cameras are working today, so if you want to check us out on Super Talk TV, you can, and appreciate it if you would. The Super Text number is 615-737-9986. Well, if you haven't noticed, winter is here, friends. And if you have had enough of the cold drafts blowing through your old windows, bundling up in layers of clothing and blankets, and hearing the heat turn on for the 5th time this hour, it is time to talk to the pros at Window Nation. Now, these are the people that put windows in my basement studio. I love them, and the temperature down there is great because of my new windows. Now, replacing those old windows with quality, energy-efficient windows from Window Nation is easier and more affordable than you might think. And right now, through the end of January, you can replace the windows in your home and pay no interest for 5 years. That, my friends, is a great deal. And on top of all of that, Window Nation is also giving you 50% off all window styles. You've got to mention my name, and this great deal awaits you. 0% interest for 5 years. So why not give Window Nation a call? That phone number is 866-90-NATION. With 0% interest for 5 years, this is the company you need to partner with. 866-90-NATION, 866-90-NATION. You can find them online. It's windownation.com.
Hey, remember that winter weather we said was going to hit us? It's here, and it's very likely a lot of you are going to lose power. Next time, don't let that happen. Get with the Generator Supercenter of Nashville. Get yourself a Generac automatic standby generator for your home. The Generator Supercenter can tell you exactly what size Generac automatic standby generator you're going to need. They'll do the installation and they'll customize it to your specifications. And whenever your Generac automatic standby generator needs service, the Generator Supercenter is on call 24/7. You can find them at 2655 8th Avenue South in Nashville. Check out their beautiful showroom while you're there. Call them up at 615-879-1952. In-home consultation is free. They're located at 8th Avenue South near Gale Lane in Melrose. The Generator Supercenter of Nashville. Check them out at generatorsupercenterofnashville.com. Learn more there or call them up at 615-879-1952. Take your power in your own hands. The Generator Supercenter of Nashville. 615-879-1952. Tell them Johnny B sent you.
.5:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Right now I'm seeing that a driver is stuck, so the off-ramp is partially blocked to go from 40 eastbound to Briley Parkway east of downtown. No more snow accumulation is expected, but the roads, as you can tell, are still not ideal for travel. Here's Channel 4's Jordan James, who says there were several stalled vehicles on the way from Nashville to Brentwood this morning. He has finally made it to Franklin.
Once we got here to Franklin, we encountered a lot of ice. I know the city said they have a limited amount of snow plows, so they have to be cognizant about where they use their snow plows. So right now they're focusing on those main thoroughfares like Franklin Road, among the hardest hit areas in the city.
Another area of note, 440 off and on ramps, still snow and ice covered. Got the full forecast and traffic in 1 minute. Election 2024. Donald Trump, the big winner of the Iowa GOP caucuses. Here's Stephen Portnoy in Des Moines.
Iowa, we love you.
It was a historic margin of victory in a competitive Iowa Republican caucus. Our ABC News entrance poll showed Donald Trump won with women, men, city voters, rural voters, and those in the suburbs. About 30 points behind Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis placed second.
We've got our ticket punched out of Iowa.
Just 2 points behind him, Nikki Haley, who vowed to prevent a rematch she says Americans are dreading.
Our campaign is the last best hope of stopping the Trump-Biden nightmare.
Stephen Portnoy, ABC News, Des Moines.
Yeah, turnout in this contest was significantly lower than in the 2016 caucuses, probably due to the dangerously cold temperatures there. New Hampshire, just 7 days away. And more corporate chiefs are optimistic, but have uncertainty about what's ahead when it comes to money matters. 38% of CEOs polled at the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland, say they're optimistic about the strength of the economy. That's up from just 18% last year, and that's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis for Paul Winkler Incorporated. Now, Paul Winkler changed my financial life by teaching me the right way to manage my retirement. To be honest, I looked at a few different firms and decided to work with Paul and his team. Now, one reason why is because Paul Winkler voluntarily holds himself to the highest standards of fiduciary duty. Now, that means that the investment regulators require that I tell you that I am paid every time this commercial airs, and that's incentive to say nice things. Well, that's fair enough. But here's the deal. I'm a client of Paul Winkler myself, and I wouldn't have chosen them if I didn't believe in what they do and how they work. Now, I like that their investing philosophy is evidence-based and not someone's opinion of the day. I wanted them to focus on balancing risk and helping me figure out what I needed in savings and help me make the decisions that would be in my best interest. I also didn't want to work with a firm that was paid on commission. Paul has 10 offices across Middle Tennessee, no doubt one near you. Check them out today at 615-851-1950. As always, tell him Dan Mandis told you to reach out. You can also find him online at paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone consultation. That's paulwinkler.com. 538, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the Gang of Three Amigos. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning, Dan.
Hello, Ken.
Good morning, boys. Yes.
So I've got two great super texts so far this morning.
All right.
I'm going to start with a fun one first.
Let's do it.
Rocky. Good morning, Dan. Did you snuggle up with some pop while watching Pretty in Pink last night? No, Ken and Johnny wouldn't come over. You know, not for lack of trying, Rocky, but let's just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And another guy, 1907. Don't know if it's a guy or whatever. I'm really beginning to think that you are a misogynist, Mandis.
Wow.
Throwing down the M word.
Yeah.
What is it about women, other than your wife, that you hate? What in the hell has Nikki Haley done to make you talk so bad about her?
That's a troll.
Yeah, because I'm looking at all of the other.
That's probably Nikki herself.
Could be.
Let's see. At one point he did take, because I like to look back on all the old texts that these trollers send in.
Yeah.
So at some point back in June of 2023, the person texted in, do you even think about the stuff that you say? So, somebody said that to, this guy said that to Matt Murphy. Assuming it was Matt that was on back in June.
Yeah.
But here's the funny thing, is that for this troll to say, well, you must hate all women because you're saying bad things about Nikki Haley. You know, that's actually a Nikki Haley move. Because Nikki Haley, when Vivek Ramaswamy was going after her in a debate, she said, well, Ramaswamy obviously has a problem with women. Now, that really angered me. And so that is one of the things that I don't like about Nikki Haley. Is she played the female victim card when other politicians were going after her on the debate stage because she's a politician. And so because she's a politician, I don't care if she's, a female, a male, or somewhere in between these days, we have a right to criticize. And I have not gone personal with Nikki Haley. I mean, I've talked about the insanity of this really stupid talking point that she has about, saying Donald Trump is the candidate of chaos, right? I've spoken about that ad nauseum. It's a stupid talking point. And I don't like the fact that she feels like we should just continue funding Ukraine ad nauseum. And I don't like the fact that she's played the victim card. I don't trust her when it comes to illegal immigration. And I think that she is sort of the old guard of the Republican Party.
I think you're hitting the nail on the head because, and I'm trying to stay objective here, but the only person in this race, and this goes for the current owner of the occupant of the White House and his vice president, the only person that represents a change of what has been and what keeps happening over and over and over again is Donald Trump.
Right.
He is the only person that goes against the establishment.
So I'm just trying
the establishment is,
yep,
they are trying to stay in power.
Well, and the establishment, you could talk about the media, tie in the networks, of course, and all that. But I guess my bigger point to this person is just, for you to play the gender card tells me more about you than what you're trying to say about me, because I've never attacked Nikki Haley once on being a woman. I never have. It's always been about politics, but just like, folks that play the race card, you also have people that play the gender card when you have nothing left.
Well, and here's something that ABC News is already doing, okay?
Yep.
We are now, we're on our way to New Hampshire. Trump, obviously, I mean, it's not official yet, I guess, but Trump has apparently won by a landslide in the GOP primary in Iowa. Yep. They're already starting to talk about entrance polls showing that not only did college graduates vote for former President Trump, but so did non-educated voters. So, see, that's starting now.
Yeah.
Notice they never ask about, whether any college-educated voters voted for DeSantis or Haley or any Democrat.
No, they like to make hay out of the fact that stupid people vote for Donald Trump.
Right. And you'll hear in a report coming up at 6, you'll hear another comparison that the mainstream media is again revisiting and will be using going into New Hampshire and into November for that matter.
Okay. Well, there you go. For the record, I'm a lover of all women.
There you go.
Yeah,
well, my
like
problem
women.
my problem throughout my life is that they never love me back. Moving on. Anyway, so it looks like we're all going to have to stay here for another night.
Yeah.
So we are now going on night 3. I don't know about you, gentlemen, but I'm running out of rations.
Yeah, I've got a cup of noodles left and Glenda's jerky and cookies.
That's it. How about you, Johnny? You got plenty of rations left or no?
I still have a little bit of a salad and got plenty of jerky.
Oh, wait a minute. I still have a enchilada left.
Okay, so I want the super texters input on this. Ken, what is in this enchilada?
It was like a taco soup that I made with chicken, a chicken taco soup. I turned it into enchiladas by pouring delicious, spicy mole sauce over it.
Okay, so this is a 5-day-old enchilada.
Yeah, I made them on Saturday.
I told Johnny, I told Ken, remember the fish incident of me and Johnny?
This isn't fish, though, Brother Dan. This is chicken.
5-day-old chicken. Hey Johnny, get that on a hotkey so that when Ken gets sick, we could just play that back on the hotkey. That's the Ken. That's the sound of Ken Weaver vomiting. Actually,
not to sound misogynistic, but that's old wives' tales.
Yeah, I don't know, man. So I want to know from the super texters: should Ken eat a 5-day-old enchilada? Yes or no? 615-737-9986.
I bet you they say resoundingly yes.
I think they're going to say no.
Eat that dude, Ken. Come on. You're a real man.
Boys, you forget the story that I told. That after a day of hiking in the hot sun in New Mexico, I was famished. I was hungry. And it did not bother me that I had left a tuna sandwich in the back window of the car.
And you ate it.
And I ate it. And nothing happened to me.
How old were you?
I was 26.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was 30 years ago.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yes, Rebecca says, and she's a woman. And hey, Rebecca, do you think that I'm a misogynist?
She's a woman.
Now,
probably saying she's a woman. Oh, yeah, she's a woman.
She knows about food. Rebecca says, yes, it's still good.
See?
And a lot of men say no. BC says, what could go wrong?
I'm not far from the bathroom.
No, you're not.
Brian
it's just
says,
a couple of steps away.
Brian says, yes, nuke it in the microwave. Follow the science. The real kind, not Fauci.
Yeah, see?
2787. Somehow I feel like Ken would be fine.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Ken.
See, that's why I have a beard. Things get caught in my beard. That way it doesn't hurt me.
You've been eating beard crumbs for years, and those are fine, right?
That's what a beard does for you. It stops bad things.
Is that the pizza from 2 weeks ago? There it is. Anyway. All right, very good. Tell Ken no, 8194. If it passes the smell test, it's golden. You know what, Ken? I want you to do it, and I want you to when you call in sick tomorrow, and when you're sick in the hotel, I want you to call in, and we can mock you incessently. Anyway, so
we're all over here.
We're all short of rations, so Ken and I are talking about hoofing it over to the Whole Foods to try and pick up some food.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting some olives and some cheese, or maybe cheese in the olives and a few crackers.
Whatever, man. Yeah, I want to get some vegetables. I feel like I've been eating like crap for days.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the way I feel. You ever feel like that, folks?
Yes.
When you've just been living on bad food. So I think at least another day, and then hopefully we'll be able to get home by Wednesday afternoon.
I got to go home tomorrow. I just do. I've got to do it. Now, today, no, because I don't think we're going to get much sun today.
No.
So that's not going to help with melting.
Yeah.
We need the sun, especially with temperatures as low as they are right now.
Yep.
We got to have the sun out there melting this stuff because and until we get above 15 degrees, all this product is just going to refreeze.
Yep.
Johnny, what do you got?
Well, two things. One,
I got nothing on that, Ken.
We were talking about, what was happening up in Iowa and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching MSNBC yesterday for a brief moment, and Chris Jansing was on there, and they were talking about what happens if Donald Trump gets elected and then he takes over our police force as a dictator.
Oh, God almighty.
Yeah, and they were talking about it like it could happen
because they know there are people that believe it.
Yes, they're trying to manufacture this fear that Donald Trump is going to take over our police forces.
Yep.
And turn them into Nazis.
Yeah.
And that was on
MSNBC.
What did Phil call them? BSNBC?
BSNBC.
Which is pretty accurate.
Did you guys hear what? All right, so since you're talking about that, let me see if I can find it real quick. I've got so much. Rachel Maddow. Johnny needs some audio. So BSNBC would not air Donald Trump's speech last night, his victory speech.
Of course not.
No.
This is what she said.
Of course, there is a reason that we and other news organizations have generally stopped giving an unfiltered live platform to remarks by former President Trump. It is not out of spite. It is not a decision that we relish. It is a decision that we regularly revisit. And honestly, earnestly, it is not an easy decision, but there is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things.
Yeah.
That is a fundamental truth of our business and who we are. And so his remarks tonight will not air here live. We will monitor them and let you know about any news.
I mean, come on.
Boy, thanks, comrade.
Who's the Nazi?
Yeah.
Who are the Nazis here?
Who's the Nazi?
Yeah, we won't run it. We'll just review it, and then we'll let you know what we feel about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is exactly right. Yeah, that's Rachel Maddow. And the people of, and that's part of a bigger package that I'm going to do in the next hour. But, there is such a disconnect between the mainstream media and their ilk, like MSNBC, and where the American people are. And their attitude of what Donald Trump supporters are like, even if they don't come out and say we're all a bunch of deplorables, you could tell that that's their attitude.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I mean.
Well, and here's another thing to look at, too. I noticed this last night before I fell asleep. I was watching the news with David Muir, and their Rick Klein, their political analyst, Rick Klein, he's got a picture of Trump, DeSantis, and Haley, and he's given the totals at that point. And these were not actual photos. These were artist renditions, and all three of them looked maniacal.
Of course they do.
And these are the little things that they are doing and that they will continue to do. And, folks, it's just going to ramp up.
Well, remember, Rick Klein is part of that Lincoln Project.
Yes.
So, I mean, and they are just decidedly anti-Donald Trump. They claim to be Republicans. I don't believe that they are. But, I mean, if they are Republicans, then they are incredibly anti-Donald Trump, which, as we see from Iowa.
Well, and why use an artist rendition of the candidates?
Right.
Just
put their photos up. That's what I'm telling you. It's on, folks.
I tell you what.
It is on.
It's going to be fun.
And the masks are coming back, folks.
Oh, yeah. Just wait.
5:52 on Nashville's Morning News. Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news at 6 o'clock?
Well, according to what I'm hearing from our partners, driving is still not safe here in Middle Tennessee. Temperatures are dangerous, too. It was a big night for Donald Trump in Iowa. some of that mainstream bias I'm going to tell you about coming up at 6. Also, we got a brand new money report for you at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. 5:53 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Coming up in the next hour, I believe we may hear from Brian Wilson, who is heading back to Tennessee from Iowa.
All right. He's probably going to pick up a couple of French Bulldogs on his way back.
Yeah, I wonder if Brian is going to bring us back anything from Des Moines, because I think that would be nice if he brought us back something from Des Moines.
It would be.
Has Brian checked in yet, Johnny? He says he's going to call us at some point this morning. So,
well, I mean, I'm getting ready to eat a 5-day-old enchilada. I'll take some ham and some biscuits from Des Moines.
You know what? Maybe Brian. Maybe Brian can bring us some rations.
Brian? Brian bring back rations? He'll finish them.
Yeah. I have a feeling
old Brian would have.
The old, I don't know. Who knows? I'll just leave it at that. You know what? I just cover the news. It is 5:53 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh.
Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Man, it is cold outside. What would you do if your heater broke down today? Well, if it's me, I'm a member of the Beehive Club from Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. So that means that they would buzz right over and they would fix my heater and my family would be safe and warm. Because remember that when you're a Beehive member, you do get front-of-the-line service. So when hundreds of homes are without heat, you are going to get service. First, becoming a Beehive member also means that you get 3 thorough maintenance services a year, including plumbing. Plus, no overtime charges 24/7 and 10% off of all repairs. For satisfaction guaranteed, call my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. I've been a Beehive member for almost 10 years, and I love it. I get a lot of advantages, and you will too. Tell them Dan Mandis showed you to reach out at 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, BusyBeeHVAC.com.
6 o'clock on the dot this frigid Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Driving still not ideal. Here's Channel 4's Cruz Medina.
As far as the road conditions go, I'd say they're pretty poor throughout the morning and afternoon. And by this evening with refreezing, I'd put it in the very poor category. So as we've been saying all morning, please drive safe if you absolutely have to be out on the roads.
Yeah, wind chill advisory in effect all over Middle Tennessee. There won't be any real improvement in temperatures until Thursday at the earliest. I think we'll get up to 34 degrees. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Election 2024, big night for Donald Trump in Iowa.
We want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all.
Now, ABC News projecting the former president will win the state's first in the nation Republican caucuses based on analysis of entrance polling. And then here's M. Wynn with same old questions for Trump supporters.
Turnout was lower than expected, but entrance polls reveal who turned out to support Trump in Iowa despite record cold and Trump spending little time in the state. One question asking caucus goers, if Donald Trump were to be convicted of a crime, would you consider him fit to be president? 65% said yes. Another question asking, do you think that Joe Biden legitimately won the presidency in 2020? 66% saying no.
On to New Hampshire, which is next week. Escalating tension in the Middle East. Iranian missiles target what's claimed to be Israeli spy headquarters in northern Iraq. Here's Tom Rivers at the Foreign Desk.
Ballistic missiles fired by Revolutionary Guards in western Iran. Destination, an upscale complex near the U.S. consulate in the northern Iraqi city of Erbil. The impact of the 10-missile wave, massive. The strikes come at a time of heightened tensions in the region and amid fears of a wider spillover of the ongoing war in Gaza.
Market Numbers report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, beaconcm.com. Here's Jim Ryan.
After the long holiday weekend, stock markets head into their first trading session of the week, poised to drop at the opening bell. Overnight futures were lower after some central bank officials from around the world pushed back on the idea of interest rate cuts anytime soon. Investors will be watching carefully today when Goldman Sachs reports its fourth quarter earnings. Wall Street expects earnings of $3.51 a share on revenue of about $10.8 billion from Goldman Sachs. Despite intense lobbying from the tobacco industry, the World Health Organization reports that smoking has tumbled in the last 2 decades. The WHO says 1 in 5 people, about 1.25 billion worldwide, use tobacco. The figure in 2000 was 1 in 3. And furniture giant IKEA is pushing ahead with plans to cut prices this year despite shipping disruptions in the Red Sea. The company that owns most of the IKEA stores worldwide says it's willing to operate this year on, quote, thinner profits.
All right, futures are down ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures off 110, S&P down 19, NASDAQ off 79. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Nashville's morning news with Dan Mandis.
And so, my fellow Americans,
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
607 Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, along with Ken Weaver, Johnny B. I'm Dan. You know what's interesting? So in the headlines today, there's two headlines that caught my eye. Number one, and this is from yesterday, and I told you all about this yesterday, Biden's approval rating has now dropped to an all-time low. I don't know if we've ever had a president this unpopular. But at the same time, the Democrats and Joe Biden have raised $97 million in the fourth quarter. So who are these people that are donating money to the most unpopular president in the history of unpopular presidents? It is fascinating, is it not? I believe what they're doing is they're not necessarily donating to Joe Biden. I think they're donating so that Donald Trump won't be in the White House again. I think they're also donating to whoever the Democrat candidate may be, whether it is Joe Biden or somebody else. I don't know, but I thought it was interesting because Joe Biden is so incredibly unpopular. And we talked a lot about that yesterday, so I don't really want to go backwards. But I think it is a clear indicator that the Democrat Party, I wonder how long the rank and file of the Democrats, across the country, how long will they tolerate the most unpopular president in the history of unpopular presidents as America continues to spiral out of control? And as America continues to spiral out of control, whether it is our economy, which, yes, it is doing better, but we are still feeling the effects of the Biden economy, to, the crisis on the southern border. We have all of the foreign policy issues as well. I mean, everywhere you turn, there's an indicator of Joe Biden's screw-ups the first 3 years that he's been in office. Hence, that is why he is the most unpopular president, again, in the history of unpopular presidents, not to mention, obviously, his issues with his mental acuity and so forth. But one of the things that I thought was fascinating is Donald Trump last night. Now, if you're just joining us and you're missing the news, that Donald Trump did very well in Iowa. As a matter of fact, he crossed that 50% threshold. Donald Trump winning Iowa by 51%. Ron DeSantis coming in second place at 21%. Nikki Haley coming in at 19%. Vivek Ramaswamy, he's dropped out after coming in with 8% of the vote. Now, all eyes are on New Hampshire. And coming up, we'll get into the differences between Iowa and New Hampshire. Nikki Haley, by the way, said something about New Hampshire that we're going to do a deeper dive into coming up here on Nashville's Morning News. But Trump, in his Iowa victory speech, he was talking about the performance of Joe Biden and how that impacts one Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter is happy now because he will go down as being a brilliant president by comparison to Joe Biden. He'll be a brilliant president. He's going to be known as brilliant by comparison.
Yep, that is former president, possibly future President Donald Trump, and he is talking about Joe Biden and his approval ratings and about how they are so incredibly low. And Biden, let's face it, he cannot get away from the bad news. And at the same time, the Democrats are not allowing anyone to run against him. This is from The Hill. Only 1/3 of U.S. adults say that they actually approve of President Biden's job performance, a record low for his presidency and for any president in the last 15 years, even during the Trump presidency. That is, and we all know, I believe, that Donald Trump did a great job, but the media won't put it in that context. Remember that Joe Biden and the media, they're always framing everything as, yeah, but Donald Trump. Trump never got this low. In an ABC News poll conducted January 4th through 8th, only 33% of those surveyed said that they approved of Joe Biden, a drop from the previous poll in September of 2023 when 37% approved of his performance. Biden's disapproval rating is 58%, up from 56% in September. Now, I don't need to go through all of the various issues that the president is underwater on, because I know that you know that the president is underwater on a lot of the issues. Actually, I think probably every single issue Joe Biden is going to be underwater on. And so it is with that backdrop of an incredibly unpopular Joe Biden that you have, even, by the way, amongst Democrats. And so then the question has to be, okay, well, then why are so many people donating to Joe Biden's campaign? I believe, number one, it's more than likely a lot of big money donors. But number two, it's because the Democrat Party, by and large, they're terrified of Donald Trump. There is that as well. So are they donating for Biden or against Donald Trump? And I don't really think that it really even matters. But all the things that are wrong with this country, and Joe Biden is responsible at the core. Now, again, in his victory speech last night, Donald Trump had a lot to say about Joe Biden and about his failures.
So we have to stop the invasion, and we have to stop the crime, and we have to help rebuild our cities, and we have to rebuild the Capitol. We're going to straighten out our elections. We're going to try and go to paper ballots as soon as possible. Voter ID. We're going to rescue our economy, and we want peace through strength. If the fake news would become real and honest news, 90% of our problems in this country would be solved. They would be solved.
And that little, just a very little montage that I put together on what the former president had to say. But that last part about the media and how if the media would just do their jobs. Well, he's right, but he's also wrong. And I'm going to tell you about that coming up next, because I think that the damage that the media has done to this country, I think the damage has already been done, and that's why the American people do not trust the mainstream media or the likes of MSNBC and so forth. I've got a couple more pieces of audio for you on last night's festivities in Iowa. Then we're going to look ahead to New Hampshire. It is 6:15 on Nashville's Morning News. Appreciate you listening. Time to check the roadways from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. Mostly cloudy today, a high of 20, very, very cold. The roads are still slick, and in some areas, especially the side roads and some of the on-ramps and off-ramps, you've got to be careful. We're doing traffic every 10 minutes right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Tonight, a low of about 3 degrees, and right now it is 10 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So Donald Trump last night talking about the media, he is right in the sense that they create so much division. And there is so much biased reporting from news sources that purport to be actual news channels when they really aren't. They're narrative peddlers. And I've got an example. We played this in the 5 o'clock hour, but you know that MSNBC and some other news organizations actually refused to carry Donald Trump's victory speech last night in Iowa. This is Rachel Maddow from MSNBC. I want you to listen to the self-importance of Rachel Maddow and realize that she is on MSNBC. And that is one of the main purveyors of fake news that we have out there. I mean, I could list all of the various ways that they've that they've reported fake news and purveyors of fake news. We could talk about the laptop from hell. We could talk about COVID. We could talk about any number of things. But this is Rachel Maddow last night as Donald Trump is giving his victory speech.
Of course, there is a reason that we and other news organizations have generally stopped giving an unfiltered live platform to remarks by former President Trump. It is not out of spite. It is not a decision that we relish. It is a decision that we regularly revisit. And honestly, earnestly, it is not an easy decision, but there is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. That is a fundamental truth of our business and who we are. And so his remarks tonight will not air here live. We will monitor them and let you know about any news.
I mean, that is so ridiculous. And the funny thing is, as Rachel Maddow is saying that, this is what Donald Trump is giving in his speech.
And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together.
I mean, that's what Trump was saying. It's time for our country to come together. That is what was not heard on the networks, and that is what was not heard on BSNBC. I think that kind of attitude shows an elitism that the networks and CNN and MSNBC have. And so this is what they do. And they'll never really understand what the MAGA movement is all about. Because I think that part of what we saw in Iowa last night, a number of folks have said this, of course, we've been saying it for a long time on WTN, and that is that Donald Trump is, more than just a candidate, especially when you look at how he did in Iowa. I mean, this is truly a movement. And the likes of Rachel Maddow and the mainstream media, they'll never understand that. They simply won't. And they really don't care. They don't want to understand Donald Trump supporters. It is easier for them to just despise the Trump supporters. It is easier to write them off as, cultists or deplorables. It is easier to not hear what Donald Trump and his supporters have to say rather than listen and debate him on us or us on the facts and the issues of the day. Because the direction of America right now is not good. And that is reflective of their party, not ours. They don't want to hear what Donald Trump has to say because they don't want an America that thinks for themselves. They want to be the ones who define the issues and define the candidates. And Donald Trump defines himself. And Donald Trump supporters are defined by the MAGA movement because the MAGA movement, my opinion, is the best way to go for America. I mean, Donald Trump represents America far more and Americans far more than Rachel Maddow ever will. Ari Fleischer, last night he was on Sean Hannity, and he talked about this.
We have gaps in this country. People say a gender gap. There's this gap. There's that gap. The biggest gap we have is actually between the mainstream media and the American people. Specifically, college-educated Democrats who are really reporters, the mainstream media, ABC, NBC, CBS, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and their failure to understand the country they live in outside its elite bubbles, its cities, its college-educated campuses. They do not understand the rural voters of Iowa. They will parachute in, interview them, talk about what these people believe in, and then leave and not understand their way of life, their way of thinking, their way of being raised in a gun culture, their way of fishing. It is such a disparate group of people.
Yeah. Who do you think more represents Americans? And I'm not just talking about, I'm air quoting here, mega Republicans. No. I'm talking about most Americans, independents, moderates on the left, moderates on the right, more conservative Republicans or conservatives, whatever you want to say. But who do you think more embodies that American spirit? Donald Trump or Rachel Maddow? Clearly, it's Donald Trump. Rachel Maddow and a lot of the people on the left in the mainstream media, they absolutely have zero clue as to what the rest of us are going through. 621, Ken Weaver, what's coming up in the news at 6:30?
Well, driving conditions are not ideal. We will have a report from the road for you. We've got the latest on the GOP primary in Iowa, looking ahead to New Hampshire, tension escalating in the Middle East. And we'll tell you what the Secretary of State just said about Ukraine at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. These stories and more at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. 622, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, the Super Text line is open. 615-737-9986. Would love to hear from you. The Glock store in Nashville is where I bought my gun and I got my training. It is an amazing facility. Dan Mandis here. January is training month at McGill's Glock store and their incredible Shoot 270 indoor ranges. Look, it's not enough to simply own a gun. You've got to know how to use it safely, securely, and effectively. So do what I did and check out shoot270.com, the Glock store's exclusive and unique Shoot 270 indoor ranges. They don't have lanes because they just don't think that's the most effective way to train. Instead, they've got massive rooms with professional firearms instructors. So when you reach out, mention me, Dan Mandis, and WTN, and you are going to get some great discounts from the Glock store. All range sessions are half off. Free gun rentals with your paid range session, and they'll double whatever you paid for your session, and they'll actually apply that to a Shoot 270 range membership. You can check out the incredible value of those memberships and those ranges at shoot270.com. The world-famous McGill's Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere. Find them online, shoot270.com. 628, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN News with Ken straight ahead. You know, the thing that I love about the folks at Cove Generator is that they're not just going to sell you a generator, they're going to partner with you from the time you buy it until the time you leave your house. So even after you buy the generator, they are definitely partners for you if something goes wrong. My buddy Generator Dave at Cove Generators, he is going to answer all of your questions. No generator, by the way, is too big or too small because that's all they do at Cove Generators is generators. Now, these generators are seamlessly integrated into your home and super silent. The most important part of all of this is that when the power goes out, your Generac home standby generator is going to kick on and keep your family safe. Get an estimate on your Generac home standby generator today from Cove Generators. Now, they are your premier Generac home standby generator dealer. Call them today and be prepared for the next power outage. Now, their phone number, tell them Dan told you to reach out, 931-559-3311. If you've already got a generator, you can call them to perform maintenance on your Generac automatic standby generator or any brand generator that you own. 931-559-3311. You can find them online. It's covegenerators.com. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. Terms and conditions may apply. Call for details.
.30 on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Driving conditions not ideal. Here's Channel 4's Joylyn Bukovac assessing the situation in South Nashville.
Very slow, very safe. We're on Antioch Pike in South Nashville. We actually just passed the Sam's Club. It looks like an absolute snow globe. It has not been entirely clear, pretty slick. And so if you have to be on the road, try to avoid driving. But if you have to go out driving, go very slowly, and you never know what's around the corner.
Yeah, full forecast, traffic updates in 5 minutes. Election 2024. Here's Mark Remillard on the GOP primary in Iowa.
It was a historic night. Severe weather prompting low turnout and the widest margin of victory in a contested Iowa caucuses ever. Former President Trump dominated the field, winning by nearly 30 points. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis squeaking out a projected second-place victory over Nikki Haley.
We thank you for your effort. We thank you for your support. You helped us get a ticket punched out of the Hawkeye State.
The celebration for Trump short-lived as he'll be back in court in New York this morning.
After taking a late-night victory lap in Iowa, Trump flew back to New York, where he plans to be in court today. A jury is considering whether he should pay additional damages to author E. Jean Carroll for defaming her in a sexual abuse case. She's already won millions in a separate case.
ABC's M. Wynn, Vivek Ramaswamy rounding out the field with the projected fourth-place finish, suspending his campaign.
Now on to New Hampshire, which is next week. Tension is escalating in the Middle East. Iranian missiles targeted what's claimed to be Israeli spy headquarters in northern Iraq. As for Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Secretary of State Antony Blinken at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, just pledged continued U.S. support for Ukraine.
This at a time when you continue to face an almost daily onslaught from Russia, attacking infrastructure, attacking civilians.
Congress still working on a deal to avoid a government shutdown that does not include aid for Ukraine, but the UK giving Ukraine a boost. The Prime Minister Sunak visiting Kyiv on Friday, pledging $3 billion more in military aid. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 632, Nashville's Morning News. By the way, coming up next, I want to play you an audio bite of Nikki Haley and part of her speech last night and what she said about New Hampshire, that and also what they're doing in Massachusetts, in dealing with all of the illegal aliens that Texas Governor Abbott has sent to Massachusetts. Oh, my gosh. Wait till you hear this. It is all straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News. Look, if you want to start the new year with super clean carpets, call my friends at Zero Res. Now, this is the company that I trust with my carpets, and you can too. They don't use any harsh soaps or chemicals, and that means no residue is left behind. All that is left behind is soft, fluffy carpets, and your surfaces are going to dry twice as fast. And by the way, with cold and flu season here, it is more important now than ever to keep those carpets clean, because Zero Res can get rid of all of those cold and allergy-causing bacteria and germs that live in your carpet and gets you sick. So protect your family and pets with Zero Res, a smarter, lasting clean. And right now, for the month of January, a great deal for listeners to this program. You can get 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109, and you get $50 off of air duct cleaning as well when you mention my name. Going to repeat that deal one more time. 3 rooms of carpets cleaned for only $109. Don't forget, you also get $50 off of air duct cleaning as well when you mention my name. Restrictions may apply. Call them today at 615-535-9376. 615-535-9376. Book online, ZeroResNashville.com. .37, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Dan here along with Johnny B, Ken Weaver as well. And man, there's a lot of news to talk about. If you're just joining us, Donald Trump winning Iowa last night, 51%. Ron DeSantis coming in at second place with 21%. Nikki Haley coming in third. I think if there's a big loser last night, it is Nikki Haley at 19%. I do understand that Vivek Ramaswamy, he came in fourth at 8%. He has now dropped out of the race, by the way, throwing his full support behind Donald Trump. But I think that at the end of the day, Ramaswamy's political future is looking incredibly bright, and I'm going to talk about that in the segments ahead here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. At some point today, going to have Brian Wilson, who will be joining us, and also Matthew Hurt will also be joining us. So a very busy rest of show ahead. Brian Wilson, he says he's Johnny, just to let you know, Brian Wilson is getting the Mobile Unit 3 fired up and wired up and ready to go. So Brian will be joining us here in a little bit as well. I want to play some audio from Nikki Haley because, of course, now that Trump has won Iowa, and I've played a lot of audio for you already from Donald Trump's victory speech last night, Nikki Haley had a thing or two to say about, because she's in spin control, because she really did need a really good showing last night so that she would be able to have some momentum going into New Hampshire. And so this is what she came up with, Nikki Haley, and, very subdued, but still optimistic.
The pundits will analyze the results from every angle. But when you look at how we're doing in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, and beyond, I can safely say tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
All right, so that's what she said. And I'm just going to tell you that when you start looking at the numbers, she's not doing as well as she is purporting to say there in New Hampshire. Again, it depends on the polling you look at, but is there really anybody out there that thinks that this is a two-person race? Now, first of all, in New Hampshire, according to Real Clear Politics, and what they do is they've got all of these different polling that they sort of, crush together to come up with their numbers. So in New Hampshire, according to Real Clear Politics, Donald Trump is at 43%. She's at 29%. Ramaswamy's at 5%, assuming that 5% goes to Donald Trump. That means that you've got Trump at 43 plus 5 is 49%, I think, and she's at 29%. So if the election were held today in New Hampshire, Donald Trump would be coming in at just under 50%, and Nikki Haley would be at 29%. Not sure about Ron DeSantis. But in other words, she's out there trying to make it seem like she's had some sort of a victory in Iowa and that she's got a victory coming up in New Hampshire. Now, I will tell you that other polling, and I've talked about the polling, where in other polls in New Hampshire, they do say that that Nikki Haley and Donald Trump are neck and neck. So I don't know, but I'm using the Real Clear Politics average because I think that is, by and large, the most accurate of the polling out there. By the way, in South Carolina, you've got Donald Trump coming in at 52% and Nikki Haley coming in at 29%. So I don't know who she's trying to kid, and I understand New Hampshire is going to be a lot different than Iowa. South Carolina is going to be different than New Hampshire and Iowa, and it's all different. By the way, in Nevada, because remember, she said, in New Hampshire and South Carolina and beyond, well, beyond is going to be Nevada. And Donald Trump is absolutely crushing it in Nevada with a 65-point lead in polling. Now, it's important to note that Nikki Haley, her name was not on that poll because she chose to have her name on the state primary ballot next month as opposed to the party's primary ballot. But, by and large, and I don't need to go through the nationwide polling, you know that this is not a two-person race. I mean, nice try, Nikki. I totally get it. I understand. But it's not a two-person race. Even if Ron DeSantis, here's the other thing. Because remember, in Iowa, and we talked about this, in Iowa, a lot of her support was from Democrats, right? So, and independents. And so they didn't come out. And that's the bottom line. I believe that in Iowa, the support for her was kind of made of sand. There really was, and beach sand at that. It was like, really didn't have a lot of support behind it. And so when it got a little cold, the supporters for Nikki Haley didn't come out. And by the way, DeSantis coming in at 21%. He leaves Iowa. He's injured, but it wasn't a fatal injury. As a matter of fact, DeSantis is coming off like this is some sort of a victory. And I understand because he did come in second place. But in New Hampshire, his polling is down to like 5%. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Basically, Nikki Haley looking ahead beyond Iowa, which is where everybody is, of course, leaving now. You've got DeSantis, who I think for DeSantis and Haley, it's only a matter of time. But looking ahead, I still believe that the supporters of Ron DeSantis, when DeSantis drops, and he will, DeSantis has to drop. When DeSantis drops, I think a lot of that DeSantis support is going to go for Donald Trump. You know what I'm curious about? I'm going to ask the super texters. If you are a DeSantis supporter, if you're a DeSantis supporter and DeSantis drops out, then who will you throw your support behind? Will you throw your support behind Donald Trump or Nikki Haley? See, I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that the DeSantis supporters will support Donald Trump way before they support Nikki Haley. Again, I could be wrong, but when Haley, in this speech that she gave last night in Iowa, where she's talking about how the GOP primary is a two-person race, I don't know what planet she's on, but it's not planet Earth because she's not looking at the tea leaves. But I understand that she's a politician and she's got to try to come away with some sort of a positive talking point. And for Nikki Haley, that was her attempt. 6:45 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. All right, thank you very much. Today, mostly cloudy, a high of 20, a low tonight of 3 degrees. And right now, 9 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Very, very cold. By the way, I think Brian Wilson probably, as he fires up WTN Mobile Unit 3, Brian's going to join us, I think, probably at 7:06 here on Nashville's Morning News. And we'll also talk to Matthew Hurt, our grassroots political analyst, and he's going to join us at 8:06. So a lot left to go here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. There is no doubt there's two really, really big issues that Americans are going to be voting on, not only in these primaries, but also in the general election. There is, of course, the economy, and I think that, by and large, the economy, even if the economy is getting better, big problem is that Americans will never recover or are going to have a really hard time recovering from what we went through the first couple of years of the Biden administration. But the other one is illegal immigration. And it's my contention that I don't think that America will ever recover from what Joe Biden has done to this country regarding illegal immigration and the situation with Alejandro Mayorkas and the open borders. But listen to this. I'm sorry, but I do find this funny. Massachusetts is now pleading with private homeowners to take in illegal aliens. Would you do that? Would you take in a 22, 23-year-old illegal alien from God knows who, where, and God knows where, and who knows who they are? Would you do that? Obviously, the majority of the American people would not. You know what? I would like to see Joe Biden take in a few. I'd like to see Kamala Harris take in a few. The state of Massachusetts is asking private home. Okay, you know what I would be curious about? And maybe it's embedded somewhere in the story. I would like to see if the governor of Massachusetts would take in a few illegal aliens there into the governor's mansion. The mayor of Boston was it the mayor of Boston that did that No Whites Allowed Christmas party? Was that Boston? I can't remember now. But anyway, the state of Massachusetts is asking private homeowners to take in illegal aliens as the state runs out of rooms to house the thousands of border crossers who are still flooding into the Bay State. Massachusetts is the only state that has a statewide right to housing rule for homeless families. And with that rule in mind, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey, Democrat, of course, has repeatedly asked legal residents to open up their homes to illegal immigrants for whom officials are having a hard time finding beds. Sure, come on in. Healey declared a state of emergency over the influx of illegal aliens in August, saying in her declaration, there are currently nearly 5,600 families or more than 20,000 individuals in state shelter, including children and, not surprisingly, pregnant women. One solution Healey and her allies have suggested is housing migrants in private homes. Listen, if you are a supporter of the Democrat Party, if you're one of those thousands of people that is given to the Biden administration, and the Biden administration has, by its very actions, declared America as a sanctuary nation, you know what? It's your responsibility too, I suppose, because you're the ones that voted for this. And that's the bottom line. The state is currently housing more than 1,400 families at 40 hotels in 28 cities around the state at taxpayer expense, and on it goes. I mean, listen, we all know what's going on in Chicago. We all know what's going on in New York. We all know now what is going on in Boston, and this is happening everywhere. And so part of me wonders, and that's the fascinating thing. You know, I was talking earlier about how the Biden administration, Joe Biden, been telling you about this the last couple of days, where his approval rating has dropped to, an all-time low. Yet at the same time, you have all of these people that are donating money to the Biden campaign. Reuters says that the Biden campaign has raised $97 million in the fourth quarter. Maybe what the Biden administration, maybe what the Biden campaign needs to do is donate some of that money to house these illegal aliens that they invited in. I don't know, just a thought. It is 6:51 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Coming up at 7:06, Brian Wilson, live from, I think he's just getting up and leaving Des Moines, so he's going to tell us what he thinks about what happened last night in the Iowa caucus, what is ahead in New Hampshire, that and a whole lot more straight ahead. Right now, it's 6:52 now. Got Ken Weaver. What's coming up in the news?
Well, driving is still not ideal. We will get you a report from the road here in Middle Tennessee. Rachel Scott's reporting on that record-breaking victory for former President Donald Trump in Iowa last night. Now it's on to New Hampshire just 1 week from today. All of the world's richest people meeting in Davos, Switzerland are taking note of what happened in Iowa. Wait till you hear what a former Secretary of State says about climate change at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, thank you very much, Ken. I appreciate that at 6:52. I want to tell you about my friends at USS, United Structural Systems. Listen, if you even think that you need some concrete leveling, some waterproofing, or foundation work, you've got to call the people that I trust, USS, United Structural Systems. I am one of 25,000 100% satisfied customers that they've helped over the years, and these folks at USS, they are the absolute best. Now, you need to go down into your basement, maybe your crawl space, see if you've got some moisture down there because of all of this snow. If you do, then that means that you may have some waterproofing issues. And if you do, USS can help you out. And by the way, they do great work, and they've got great warranties as well at United Structural Systems. Lifetime warranties that are transferable, and yes, they're guaranteed for the lifetime of your home. USS is also going to provide services with no down payment. So if you think that you've got issues, don't stress and call the best, my friends at USS. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. The phone number is 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855. Homeowners trust United Structural Systems. You can find them online, ussTN.com.
Sponsored by Jackson Hewitt Tax Services, home of the Money Today guarantee.
Got some vehicles stuck here at 40 East in Hillsborough, 21st in the right lane. Things are looking pretty light volume-wise, 65 north and south if you do have to get out, but still a lot of snowpack and ice. I certainly wouldn't advise it. Here at Stewart's Ferry now, things slowing down just a little bit. Some cars trying to get back into Hermitage now. I'm Jack Womack. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Clear your to-do lists at Publix. With Publix Pharmacy, you can get meds, flu shots, and groceries all in one trip. Visit Publix.com/pharmacy to transfer prescriptions and more. Publix, where shopping is a pleasure.
6:57, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Start your year off stress-free by selling your home with a guaranteed offer from my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate. Dan Mandis here. And you don't have to worry about the hassle of constant cleaning and making costly repairs with Mark Spain Real Estate and their guaranteed offer for Mark Spain Real Estate. You can receive an all-cash offer and, quite frankly, friends, move when you're ready. There's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. And they've got over 10,000 five-star reviews. Mark Spain Real Estate is the most trusted and experienced real estate team in America. Their guaranteed offer does keep you in control. They've got over 50,000 satisfied clients. You, my friends, can trust Mark Spain Real Estate. to sell your home fast and for top dollar. Find out what the guaranteed offer would be on your home today. There's no obligation. That phone number, tell them Dan told you to reach out, 855-299-SOLD, 855-299-SOLD. You can also find them online. It's markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
The traditional first-year anniversary gift is paper.
Yay! Envelopes.
The traditional 10-year anniversary gift is tin or aluminum.
Are there sardines in here?
And the 20-year anniversary gift is the chance to win up to $1 million.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
It's our anniversary, but we thought about what you'd want. The new 20th anniversary Jumbo Bucks Instant Games from the Tennessee Lottery. Game-changing fun. Please play responsibly.
WWTN, Hendersonville, Nashville. From the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
And the Mark Spain Real Estate WTN Newsroom. Information fueled, opinion driven.
This is Nashville's news and talk leader.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7 o'clock on the dot this Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Road conditions not ideal this morning, drivers. Channel 4's Danielle Ledbetter's been assessing the situation in West Nashville.
TDOT officials are urging people to stay off the roads, and this is why. You can see that there's a layer of ice just underneath this snow. It's really, really slick, so it makes for really, really tricky conditions out here. Another big reason TDOT wants you to stay off the roads is because they can treat them better when nobody's on the road.
Yeah, full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Election 2024, Rachel Scott on a record-breaking victory for former President Donald Trump, winning the Iowa caucuses in a landslide.
Trump's 30-point win, the largest for any Republican candidate in a contested Iowa caucus.
I want to congratulate Ron and Nikki for having a good time together. We're all having a good time together.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis staked his entire campaign on the state, coming in a distant second, but edging out former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Haley, who was betting on a strong finish to launch her into New Hampshire, falling short and into third.
On to New Hampshire 1 week from today. All of the world's richest people meeting at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland are taking note of Iowa. Listen to what a former Secretary of State is saying.
John Kerry says he isn't retiring from his climate role, but shifting to support the Biden campaign. And regardless of who wins, he believes his global agenda will remain solid.
You wound up with a different president who's opposed to climate crisis. I got news for you. No one politician anywhere in the world can undo what is happening now. The marketplace is doing this.
But the growing pushback is evident in places like the Netherlands and Germany, where farmers there have had enough of World Economic Forum decrees.
Yeah, it's Tom Rivers at the Foreign Desk. Elsewhere at the World Economic Forum, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken pledged continued support for Ukraine against Russia's invasion, but Congress is tied up trying to avoid a federal government shutdown. There's nothing included in that for Ukraine. Here's Tom Sufi-Burridge.
With future American support for Ukrainian troops held up in Congress, and with frontline forces running low on ammunition, Ukraine's top diplomat telling us time is running out. But his country will never bow down to Russia.
Even if we run out of weapons, we will fight with shovels.
Ukraine fortifying its defences, with officials warning of a fresh Russian offensive in the coming weeks.
Escalating tensions in the Middle East, too, after Iran launched a deadly missile strike in Iraq near a U.S. consulate. The strike raising concerns that Iran getting more aggressive in the region. Market Numbers report. Market Numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Checking futures ahead of this morning's opening bell on Wall Street. Dow futures down 55, S&P off 13, NASDAQ down 53. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Shortages, blackouts, bans. The world is getting weird. Generator Supercenter of Nashville keeps it from getting weird at your house. Keep the lights on, the food fresh, the temperature comfy with whole home generators and more. Generator Supercenter of Nashville.com.
Whether you're a business owner who needs to fill positions or you're ready to find your next career, the hiring process is constantly changing. Tune in to Mastering the Workforce, Sunday mornings at 11 to hear about the latest hiring trends affecting the workforce today. Only on Super Talk 99.7.
From the Paul Winkler Investments WTN Traffic Center.
The chances of starting your New Year's resolution decreases each day you put it off. Don't let another year go by not knowing how simple losing weight can be. Fast, sustainable, proven weight loss at awaken180weightloss.com.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And go, my fellow Americans.
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:07 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Dan Mandis here along with Ken Weaver, Johnny B. Of course, big news out of Iowa.
We want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all.
Yes, Donald Trump coming away with 51% of the caucus vote. Ron DeSantis, 21%. Nikki Haley coming in third at 19%. Vivek Ramaswamy coming in at 8%, and Brian Wilson joins us. And I believe, Brian, you're still in Des Moines, but getting ready to take off. Any big surprises last night?
Yeah, I think I'm a little surprised by the strength that DeSantis had last night. Some of the polling had suggested he would not do that well. He had a good ground game, and it paid off for him. I think coming in number 2, he said he punched his ticket out of Iowa, and I think that's very true. But I'm having a difficult time trying to see now the pathway for DeSantis. It was a great night for Donald Trump.
Yep.
A phenomenal night. Nikki Haley, I think a lot of people thought she would come in second, and then she's poised to do really well in New Hampshire. The setup there was really well for her. Ron DeSantis is not really showing up all that big in New Hampshire. So if you want to become, it's going to be Donald Trump maybe and somebody else. And if you want to be that somebody else, you needed to have a good, strong showing in Iowa. And then you got to win somewhere. I don't see DeSantis poised at this moment to win somewhere, but I do see Nikki Haley, even though she came in third, poised to potentially take New Hampshire. It's going to be close, but she might just do it. Ramaswamy, the polls were exactly right on him.
Yep.
And he has postponed his campaign and decided to sit out for a while. He said $30 million of his own money to get 8% in Iowa, and that's I wonder how much that comes down to every delegate. It's a lot.
Well, Brian, yeah, I know you're right. And I tried to do math earlier in the program. I epically failed. I believe that my math is my head is a little frozen, so we'll move on from there. But let me ask you this, because with Ramaswamy dropping out, he had 8% in Iowa. I believe that the majority of that support will go to Donald Trump. Ramaswamy came out last night, said he's going to support Donald Trump, America First candidate, and so forth. In New Hampshire, Ramaswamy is polling at about 5%, and it depends on what poll you're talking about as to whether or not Trump and Haley are neck and neck. Some polls have them at 40% each. But you also have, in the Real Clear Politics polling, they show that Trump is at 43%. Haley is at 29%.
Yeah,
Ramaswamy is at...
It really does matter which one of those polls you look at.
Right.
There was a CNN poll, and it had it, within, I think she was only... And this was just as Christie was getting out. I think she'll pick up Christie's vote. She was at, within striking distance, and it looked like she had a little momentum. I don't know. The momentum may have stopped. So, again, Trump is the guy to beat. Trump it had a very good night. And the question is, can anybody pull off a win anywhere else to make this a two-person race, or is it just Trump and everybody else? If she fails to do well as some of the polls suggest she might do in New Hampshire, and DeSantis, doesn't show up very well in New Hampshire. It's all down to South Carolina. But by South Carolina, if somebody hasn't, shown some strength beyond what Trump is showing, or can come close to Trump, I think it's pretty much over. It's Trump. I mean, it's always been that way. It's always been sort of Trump's to lose, and he had a good night. I mean, he shattered, absolutely destroyed all the records for winning the Iowa caucuses. So he had a good ground game, and he did well.
Yeah, he did. And when you look at the fact that everybody was thinking, okay, so if he doesn't get 50%, that's going to be a big, not a loss for Donald Trump, but they'll call it a bit of a setback, a loss of momentum, whatever it is. 51%.
It doesn't make any difference whether it's 51%, 50%, or 45%. It just really, he still shattered it. There's it's Donald Trump and everybody else, and the everybody else group has to figure out how they're going to post a win. The only person who potentially, and I'm not even sure she can do it, could potentially pull off a win or come real close, is Haley in New Hampshire. And so that's where all eyes will need to be now. But look, it seems to me that that it's going to be very difficult to catch Donald Trump. His strength is overwhelming. He has wide-ranging support. People just, the more legal problems he has, the stronger he gets. He's like Obi-Don Kenobi. You strike him down and he becomes stronger. So I think.
Did you say? Whoa. Did you say Obi-Don Kenobi?
Yeah, Obi-Don Kenobi.
Is that a thing you've been doing on the afternoon show? Because that is flipping brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, yes. If you listen now and then, Dan, you'd know that.
Hey, listen, every day, 2 to 6. Got it, Brian. Totally kidding. Hey, Brian, I want to play a quick soundbite for you. This is from Nikki Haley.
The pundits will analyze the results from every angle. But when you look at how we're doing in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, and beyond, I can safely say tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a two-person race.
Brian, she mentioned South Carolina. We already broke down New Hampshire, but in South Carolina, Trump's at 52%, Haley's at 29%. So
the only thing that I think Trump wins South Carolina unless there's something that really changes in the next few days, except to say that she's running that state and she's got a lot of friends, and I would imagine a pretty good political organization in the state. I don't see her beating Trump in South Carolina. That's Trump country, and I've talked to some people from South Carolina, and they say, she was a good governor, but we're all going to be lined up behind Trump, and I think that's probably what's going to happen. So, look, if she doesn't pull off something in New Hampshire, that will be it. I don't see. I would not be able to see a pathway for either DeSantis or Nikki Haley to somehow overcome this juggernaut that is Donald Trump's campaign.
Well, it's a movement. It's a movement. A couple of more things for you, Brian, coming up next at 7:15. Time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you, Jack. Mostly cloudy today, a high of 20, a low tonight 3, right now 9 degrees. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Brian Wilson joining us live from Des Moines, Iowa, where Donald Trump won the Iowa caucuses, 51% of the vote. DeSantis 21, Haley 19%, Ramaswamy dropping out at 8%. And so let me ask you, Brian, what's the big difference between Iowa and New Hampshire? Because there is a lot of difference. From what I understand, New Hampshire is more college-educated type people and so forth.
Yeah, and New Hampshire is a place where anybody can play in the primary. The difference between a caucus and a primary is so different. People have a chance to vote early. They can vote. They can vote absentee, etc. In a caucus, you've got to be there. You got to motivate your people. And boy, I tell you, people turned out. It was a big turnout in Iowa, even though, when I got out to the truck after the thing, it was minus 11, and people still showed up in big numbers. But it's a different animal completely in that a lot of people can play, and it is a more moderate state. There's Republicans in that part of the world are more moderate. Look at the Sununu's, etc., who've done very well there. They're not what you would call hard-nosed conservatives. They're more they're fiscal conservative more than ideological conservative. So it is a different animal. It really, honestly, we probably put too much emphasis on Iowa and New Hampshire. I think you have to look at the big picture, and it's a what do you want to call it? A marathon, not a jog, not a short 50-yard dash. And so it is a different animal, but it's probably, I would say, more up Nikki Haley's alley than anybody else except Donald Trump. And Donald Trump will probably win that one, but Nikki Haley could give him a run for his money.
You know, I think part of what, and I talked about this the last couple of days, where Nikki Haley running around saying that Donald Trump is the candidate of chaos and all these kinds of things. What does she have to change with her messaging? Because clearly that messaging is not working.
Well, I mean, I think she wants to be the alternative, and you could either tiptoe around Donald Trump and play nice, as Ramaswamy did, or you could take the path that both DeSantis and Nikki Haley have taken. She's been more acrid in her comments than DeSantis has. But look, she's positioning herself as the anti-Trump. I can bring you everything that you want, but you don't have the chaos that sometimes follows Donald Trump. Is her message, and it's hard for her to do that because she was in that administration.
Yeah.
So her message is, well, he was the right president then, but let's be honest about it. There's a lot of chaos that follows Donald Trump. So I can give you what you want without the chaos. And DeSantis has said things similar, but not quite as harsh. Because I think he understands that, at the end of the day, he might have to work alongside Donald Trump, and he doesn't want to alienate him too much. So here we go. Iowa is over, and minus 9 degrees here this morning in balmy Des Moines.
All right, last question. And do you see a possibility whereby South Carolina, you've got DeSantis and Haley gone by South Carolina?
So.
Really?
Yeah, I think entirely possible. Certainly by the time we vote on March 5th, I think it will be, unless somebody scores a victory and things change, it's likely going to be the coronation for Donald Trump. He'll get what he needs to go forward after Super Tuesday.
All right, Brian, drive safely, and you're back on the air.
Way,
yes.
By the way, you heard that old song about, I stepped on a pop top and blew out my flip-flop?
Yes.
I had a similar experience here. It's so cold that I had waffle stompers on, and the glue came unhinged. So I was walking around yesterday with boots that had a floppy sole on them, barely hanging in there. That's how cold it is here. It's just, it's unbelievable. And I know everybody back home is going through a little spout of cold weather. But man, you haven't known cold until you have done a minus 25 wind chill factor. It's just, these people up here, I give them a lot of credit for being able to endure that kind of
Brian's going to be running around in shorts when he gets home, just because you're so used to the Iowa cold. You said, did you call your shoes waffle stompers?
Waffle stompers, didn't you ever have a pair of waffle stompers?
No, I don't know. I've never heard.
Big old tread on the sole.
That's right.
No, I've never had waffle stompers.
Well, then you truly haven't lived in a cold climate. You got to have some waffle stompers when it's snowing.
I've had pancake flatteners, but I've never had waffle stompers. Whatever. Thanks, Brian.
Right,
I appreciate it.
Be safe, Brother Brian.
I'll talk to you later, buddy. Bye-bye.
I got a courtesy laugh out of Brian. At least that. He's going to bring that up at contract negotiation time.
Pancake flatteners.
Yeah, I've never heard of waffle stompers.
Yeah, waffle stompers, man. They look like waffles whenever you step in the snow. Your footprint looks like a waffle.
Okay.
Makes the snow look like a waffle.
I get it. When you grow up in California, there's not much need for a waffle stomper.
Unless you're in the mountains.
Does California have mountains?
Yeah.
I wouldn't know that because I was always at the beach.
Well, this was Northern California, Brother Dan.
Usually when you live in California, you're either a beach person or a mountain person. Yeah. Oftentimes, though, you don't get too many people that are both. Some are.
Right.
But usually you're a mountain person or a beach person. I was always a beach person.
Yeah.
Didn't need any waffle stompers on the beach.
No, sir.
Nope. 7:21 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Brian Wilson there live from Iowa, and we have the Super Text line, which is open, 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Ken Weaver was coming up in the news.
Well, road conditions still not ideal in Middle Tennessee. We'll get you a report from the road And Mark Remillard has a 1-minute package on the Iowa caucuses and what to look forward to next, coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken. At 7:23, Dan Mandis here on Super Talk 99.7. You are losing your hair and you need a simple solution that works. You want the best modern technology with top-rated physicians. You want something that is guaranteed to work. Guys, you need Advanced Hair. Advanced Hair has completely redefined hair restoration from the experience itself to the unmatched results they produce. Receding hairline, bald spot, thinning hair, you can address all of these with a simple one-day treatment plan in a calm and relaxed environment with the most experienced professionals out there. Advanced Hair has performed tens of thousands of breakthrough advanced FUE treatments, and your own natural hair begins to grow the very next day. No one else in Nashville can offer the advanced FUE found at Advanced Hair. Fix hair loss today, starting with your free consultation from Advanced Hair. You mention my name, you're also going to get $500 off if you move forward. Mention my name. Call them 629-348-HAIR. 629-348-HAIR. Refine your hairline with the team that has redefined hair restoration. And don't forget to ask about that Advanced Hair Guarantee. 629-348-HAIR. Online, advancedhair.com.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
I got CNN on in here, just real quick.
Yeah.
You got Pritzker on there.
Yeah. Jeremy Pritzker, is that his name?
Governor Pritzker from Illinois.
Oh, okay.
JD, I think his name is.
Oh, JD Pritzker.
He's out there saying there's no difference between GOP candidates.
Well.
Shut up. Stick to your own party, jackhole. Anyway, it is 7:28. Nashville's Morning News. Great news for my friends at Loan Pronto. Mortgage rates are coming down, and Loan Pronto can help you take advantage of fixed rates with APRs in the 5s. Now, if you got stuck with a high mortgage rate last year, Loan Pronto can help you switch it out for a much better payment right now, and they can do it fast with no appraisal and no cost. Yes, you can lower your payment right now with my friends at Loan Pronto. If you're buying a new home right now, since rates are coming down, Loan Pronto can beat anyone else's rates and no closing costs with Loan Pronto. Or if you need some cash, Loan Pronto can hook you up with an express equity line of credit at a great rate and keep your current mortgage intact. The bottom line is that if you're a homeowner or you want to be, Loan Pronto can help you big time. So don't wait for rates to go back up. Seize the moment and snag a great rate right now for a new home purchase, a full refi, or just get some cash out of your equity. Loan Pronto is the place to call, 615-499-5780. That's the phone number mentioned Dan Mandis, 615-499-5780. The website is loanpronto.com, 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
$7:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Driving conditions still not ideal. Channel 4's Danielle Ledbetter's in West Nashville, where she says the interstates are better than yesterday, but getting to them is risky.
We are out here again on White Bridge Road, and it's some slick and dangerous conditions. If you look really, really closely, you can see ice under that snow right there. Seaside roads are the ones you really have to be worried about. As I was coming into work this morning, taking the interstate, it was much clearer than they were yesterday afternoon, and definitely much clearer than what we see here on White Bridge Road.
Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Election 2024. Here's Mark Remillard with what went down in the Iowa caucuses.
Frigid temperatures dampening turnout at last night's caucuses. The smallest number of votes cast in a quarter century. That didn't have an effect on the forecasted results as frontrunner Donald Trump secured a commanding victory.
Trump's 30-point win, the largest for any Republican candidate in a contested Iowa caucus.
I want to congratulate Ron and Nikki for having a good time together. We're all having a good time together.
Florida Governor Ron DeSantis staked his entire campaign on the state, coming in a distant second, but edging out former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley. Haley, who was betting on a strong finish to launch her into New Hampshire, falling short and into third.
ABC's Rachel Scott in New Hampshire. Vivek Ramaswamy came in a distant fourth, suspending his campaign late Monday and endorsing Donald Trump.
New Hampshire is Tuesday. Escalating tensions in the Middle East. Iran launched missiles into Iraq near a U.S. consulate overnight, getting more aggressive in the region. Here's Derek Dennis.
Explosions in the city of Erbil, Iraq, after neighboring Iran launched ballistic missiles, claiming to target the local headquarters of Israel's intelligence agency. At least 4 civilians were reportedly killed, some blasts near the U.S. consulate. Others also reported in Syria. All of this raising concern about a wider spillover of violence across the region stemming from the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 732, Awaken 180. Listen, I'm so happy that I started 2024 on the right track with Awaken 180. Now, I do know that it's a holiday tradition to put some pounds on, but because I've learned to eat the right way with Awaken 180, my body is trained to eat the right way no matter what the time of year is. I didn't need to make a New Year's resolution to lose weight because I've been working with Awaken 180 since last spring, and I've lost my 20 pounds, and I've been able to keep it off the right way. Again, the Awaken 180 way. Now, the people that I know here at WTN that are also on Awaken 180, me, Belle, and Pamela, we've all hit our goals, and you will too. Now, I remember when food used to have control over me, but these days, it is the other way around, and the power that you feel is just amazing to finally be able to take control of your life. So do what we did here at WTN and thousands of others across Tennessee and America and discover the Awaken 180 difference. We've all succeeded, and you will too, but that first reach out is on you. Find Awaken 180 online. It's awaken180weightloss.com. That is awaken180weightloss.com. .737, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Thank you very much for listening. I'm getting critiqued by AJ. He says the company needs to invest in a teleprompter because when they're watching me on the camera, they can tell when I read my commercials, which are actually way over here, that I'm reading down and reading a script. And he says that the company should pay to have the commercials on a teleprompter so that I can utilize a teleprompter. And then I started laughing, and then I just decided to move on.
Smart move.
Yes. But for people who do watch, I run into people all the time, and they are just so fascinated with the camera. And I don't know why. I don't know why.
It perplexes all of us, Dan.
It really does.
Yeah.
But for people to watch the camera, just so you folks know, one, thank you. I appreciate it. And yeah, when I read the commercials, I'm reading a piece of paper, a script right in front of me, and I try not to mess up the commercials too badly. So I do have a script for those. But then a lot of my notes are on the computer right in front of me. And that's where I play all of my audio, et cetera, as well. And I've actually had people want to come in, and I've never told you this, Johnny. I've actually had broadcasters, fellow talk show hosts from other markets that have watched what we do with the camera. And they're fascinated by it because not a lot of talk stations do that. And they've asked if I could sort of give them a tour of how I do the show in here because of where I'm looking and all the audio that I play and everything else. And I said, nope, it's an ancient Mandis secret.
It's a company secret. Come on.
It's a company secret. It's proprietary information. Anyway, it is 7:39. There is a horrifying story. And I don't typically like to regale you with horrifying stories every single day. But I got to tell you, just very quickly, if I could divert from Iowa for a second and bring you to New York, there is a story, and it is a throng, thousands of pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel protesters that are swarming a New York City cancer hospital. So they're protesting Israel, pro-Palestinian, and they have swarmed a cancer hospital. You know why? Because they say that the hospital donates to a hospital in Israel. And now these thousands of pro-Palestinian nut jobs are accusing this hospital of complicity in genocide. Is that not just the most horrific thing? It is an East Side Cancer Center. And I'm trying to figure out which one it is. Now, for you folks that don't know, I have a lot of history in my family of cancer. And so I actually had it's Memorial Sloan Kettering. Oh, my God. Do you know how many lives Memorial Sloan Kettering has saved? They literally saved the life of my son. And they did incredible work. Just a 60-second in case you people have not heard the story before. It's been years since I've told the story. But when my son was, I think, 3 years old, he was diagnosed with a neuroblastoma, which is a cancer. It's a big tumor, like in the abdomen. And so he had to go to, he went to UCLA in Los Angeles. This is when we lived in California. And UCLA wanted to pump him full of chemicals, wanted to pump him full of, all of the chemotherapy and all that kind of stuff. And so we went to New York because he had the tumor surgically removed. And so Sloan Kettering in New York was one of the only places that said, no, we don't believe that he needs chemotherapy. We're going to do some other things. I can't remember exactly what it was that they did, but no chemotherapy. Some of these other places, they're teaching hospitals. And so they wanted to pump them full of chemotherapy. And the chemotherapy probably, quite frankly, would have killed him when they scooped out the tumor. There was no other tumor. There was no cancer. It had not spread. It was like they pulled out a grapefruit from this little 3-year-old's abdomen. And so we went to New York and we lived there for a year, and we went to Sloan Kettering. And you sit in that waiting room with all of those kids that have cancer and they've lost their hair and they've got IVs hooked up to them. And Sloan Kettering does amazing work. And so for these pro-Palestinian flippin' nut jobs to swarm Sloan Kettering when parents and people are trying to get into the hospital for, whatever procedures that they have to have, it is heartbreaking because I know precisely what those families are going through. Oh my God, this is so disgusting. You have thousands of people waving their Palestinian flags, talking about genocide and all this other stuff. It is just horrific. And, I do understand in this country, we all have a right to do exactly what these people are doing. But it feels like, and I keep making this comparison, it feels like, you see that movie World War Z with Brad Pitt, where, the zombies are taking over Philadelphia. And it's one of the best ever movie scenes, just because I'm really into those zombie apocalypse type movies. That's what these people are like, where they're running around, they're surrounding hospitals, they're blocking highways, and they're harassing people. And I got to tell you, this is just incredibly sad. And I think this week I've got Senator Marsha Blackburn on, and I know that she wanted to have. She's got a piece of legislation out there, and I don't know if it's passed. I'll have to ask her. But basically, it was they were going to make it a crime to block roads, and I think that is an absolutely brilliant idea. But the American people are going to start really paying attention here to politics during this election. And I don't care where you fall on the whole, anti-Israel, pro-Israel thing. But when you look at who these pro-Palestinian people are targeting and how these people mostly identify, and I know that they're going after Joe Biden, but I believe that they mostly identify with Democrats. And this is the kind of lawlessness that are really horrifying the American people. And that's what they're doing. And they're doing it in New York as they surround this hospital. Now, again, I don't know if they were breaking any laws or not, but it is just horrifying. It is 7:45. Time to check the roads. From the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. At 7:45 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News, where it is mostly cloudy, a high of 20 today, a low tonight of 3. And Johnny, I'm sorry, you said it was 9 degrees? 9 degrees on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Always love when Johnny gives me the thumbs up. Anyway, there's a lot of other things going on. The headline on the Daily Mail. Trump warns Biden he will take back the U.S. after Iowa avalanche, and that's what they're calling it, and calls on Republicans to unite behind him as a landslide victory cements his place as the GOP White House favorite. It's interesting. I did a monologue. Boy, is it already 7:46? 5 a.m., I played you a lot of the relevant monologue from President Trump's speech last night. And a couple of people commented on this particular soundbite where the president did ask not only Republicans, but all Americans to pull together. This is the soundbite that people thought that, President Trump was only talking about Republicans. He's not just talking about Republicans. He's talking about everyone. Listen.
And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together. Whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative, it would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problems and straighten out all of the death and destruction that we're witnessing. That's practically never been like this. It's just so important. And I want to make that a very big part of our message. We're going to come together. It's going to happen soon, too. It's going to happen soon.
Yeah, listen, I'm a supporter of Donald Trump. He's not going to be able to pull us together. I think we can we be honest? I mean, I'm always honest, so whatever. But yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. When you're the only one that is trying to pull everyone together and you have an entire side of the country that is unwilling to come together, well, then we're going to end up with a lot of the same. Probably more of the same, because you don't think they're going to ratchet up the attacks on Donald Trump? Clearly they are, whether it's, MSNBC, whether it is, the networks, the mainstream media, the Democrats, the progressives, the pro-Palestinian people out there going after Sloan Kettering Cancer Hospital. I mean, if Trump is ultimately going to be the nominee for the GOP, and I believe that he will, he is the only one of all of the sides that I just mentioned. He is the only one that is calling for unity. And by the way, he did say the same thing a while back, the president did when he won the election in 2016. And when he won the election in 2016, he said pretty much the same thing, which is, let's unite. I am a president for everyone. And at that precise moment, the progressives and the Democrats were in ballrooms and committee rooms, and they were plotting how to impeach Donald Trump before he even took the oath of office. They did that. And so I love that the president says, and I listen, I get it. I know you people, I can see you on the super text line. Well, Danny has to say this. This is what they all say. Yeah, that's true. You think Trump means it? I believe that Trump means it, but I'm a conservative. So when you ask me, all right, so you say that Trump means it, do you believe that Biden meant it? No. I mean, I'll call on my own hypocrisy. That's fine. But I don't believe that Joe Biden meant it when he said that he was a president for all people. Here's the thing, though. Look at the behavior of Joe Biden versus the behavior of Donald Trump. The progressives are out there, oh, my God, Donald Trump, he hates, he's so divisive and, blah, blah, all that kind of crap. It's Joe Biden that has been out there castigating MAGA Republicans. Can I ask a question, Ken and Johnny?
Go ahead, Brother Dan Mandis.
I may be having an almost senior moment.
Okay.
We all know that Donald Trump is really good at coming up with nicknames.
Yes.
Has he come up with any kind of a nickname to disparage Democrats? Because remember, the Democrats call Trump supporters deplorables and quote-unquote MAGA Republicans like it's some sort of a pejorative. Has Donald Trump ever castigated Democrats as far as coming up with a nickname that disparages an entire political side of the country?
Not that I know of.
Johnny? No? Johnny says no. You folks on the super text line can... In other words, that's my point. My point is that Joe Biden never meant it when he says, well, I'm a president for all Americans. But those damn MAGA Republicans. So Joe Biden was never truthful when he talked about how he wanted to unite the country. He never was serious. He wrote off the Trump supporters day one. But Donald Trump hasn't done that to the left, has he? Donald Trump hasn't done that to the rank and file Democrats. He could very easily, because he's great at nicknames and he's great at doing that kind of thing, marketing and so forth and so forth. He hasn't, but he could. So I believe Donald Trump when he says that he wants everyone, including, liberals, progressives, Republicans, he wants everybody to come together. And Donald Trump means it. Joe Biden, not so much. 751, by the way, the super text line is open at 615-737-9986. Dan Mandis here. Get the speed you need at a great price with Xfinity Internet. Now, you know what's going on in my house with all three of us working on our computers, doing homework or radio shows or show prep. We depend on Xfinity Internet in my house, and you can too. Now, you can get up to 5 times faster upload speeds for smoother connections on the largest gig speed network from Xfinity. And Xfinity's gig speed internet is available to 99% of their footprint. In other words, it is fast, it is reliable, and pretty much everywhere. You can also enjoy all your favorite apps all in one place with a Flex 4K streaming box as well. And you can stay connected on the go with over 20 million secure Xfinity Wi-Fi hotspots nationwide. To get started, call 1-800-XFINITY. That's 1-800-XFINITY. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. You can find them online. It's Xfinity.com or drop into an Xfinity store today for more details. Actual speeds vary and are not guaranteed based on Xfinity's fastest available download speeds. Not available in all areas. Performance may be limited by customer's device configuration. 7:57, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Oh, the trolls are out today.
What are they saying, Brother Dan?
I'll tell you about it coming up here on Super Talk 99.7. He says, ha, Donald Trump is not a uniter in chief. I like it when talk radio dips into comedy. Every time I try comedy, it doesn't work out. You want to talk about yesterday's 8:35?
Actually, it does work out. It just does it in a different kind of way.
Sure. That's exactly right. Anyway, got a lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's morning news. Oh, by the way, you've got to see, we got to take a picture of Chris Hand today.
Oh, yeah?
The shirt that he's wearing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is Brother Chris Hand here?
He's here.
Brother Chris Hand.
Look to your right, man. He's here.
Yes, sir. We definitely got to pay. We definitely got to take a picture of that.
All right, got to go. 7:58, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7.
Eight o'clock on the dot this frigid Tuesday morning. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Driving still not ideal. Here's Channel 4's Cruz Medina.
As far as the road conditions go, I'd say they're pretty poor throughout the morning and afternoon. And by this evening with refreezing, I'd put it in the very poor category. So as we've been saying all morning, please drive safe if you absolutely have to be out on the roads.
Yeah, I just talked to Chris Hand, who made his way to the studios from Murfreesboro up I-24. He said it's not bad getting to the interstate there in Murfreesboro, but then once you get to 24 and then once you get to Antioch, that's whenever it starts getting a little tricky. Temperatures are dangerous. Wind chill advisory in effect all over Middle Tennessee. There won't be any real improvement until Thursday at the earliest, when it might be 35 degrees. Full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now, election 2024.
We want to thank the great people of Iowa. Thank you. We love you all.
There's the clear winner of the caucuses, and here's Dave Packer.
A record-breaking victory for former President Donald Trump, winning the Iowa caucuses in a landslide. For Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, it's still a battle for second place. Sherry Preston is in Des Moines this morning.
Several things could make it easier for a Donald Trump win in New Hampshire and beyond. One is his overwhelming dominance in Iowa. Another is Vivek Ramaswamy dropping out of the race. More than 40% of Ramaswamy supporters nationwide have told pollsters that Trump was their second choice. Another is the momentum Nikki Haley may lose. Her third-place finish here could dampen support in New Hampshire, where she'd been moving up in the polls. Another resounding win by Trump there could make the path to the nomination nearly impossible for either her or Ron DeSantis.
Now that New Hampshire primary just 1 week from today. Haley's more moderate conservatism is expected to play better there, bolstered by the endorsement of that state's Republican governor.
Escalating tension in the Middle East. Iranian missiles targeted what's claimed to be Israeli spy headquarters in northern Iraq overnight. More from Tom Rivers at the Foreign Desk.
Ballistic missiles fired by Revolutionary Guards in western Iran. Destination, an upscale complex near the U.S. consulate in the northern Iraqi city of Erbil. The impact of the 10-missile wave, massive. The strikes come at a time of heightened tensions in the region and amid fears of a wider spillover of the ongoing war in Gaza.
And then you have Russia's ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Here's Tom Sufi Burridge.
Troops telling us Russia has more firepower on the ground and in the air. And way more exploding drones. Those drones proving deadly for Ukrainian troops. Casualties are mounting. But the UK giving Ukraine a boost. Prime Minister Sunak visiting Kiev Friday, pledging $3 billion more in military aid.
Now, not a penny more from the U.S. for now, anyway. Congress tied up trying to avoid a government shutdown. Market numbers report. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. Right now, Dow futures down 116, S&P off 20, NASDAQ down 70. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
And go, my fellow Americans.
We talk news. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
807, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Along with Johnny B, Ken Weaver, Dan here. And this was Kellyanne Conway last night talking about Donald Trump's win in Iowa. Listen.
If you look at Trump's dominance across pretty much every crosstab group, he won. He's going to win young people, first-time caucus goers. He's going to dominate among evangelical Christians, among women. Hello, Nikki. You name it. Trump is dominating. It's a full-scale victory for him tonight.
Yeah, they are talking about on Fox News and other places as well, and this is all part of the analysis, that the voter analysis shows that Trump pretty much won decisively in every single category. Now, Matthew Hurt was there yesterday in the last several days in Iowa, in Ames, Iowa, and he joins us now. Matthew, I know that it was a late night for you, but you woke up this morning to find out that Donald Trump, he got over that coveted 50%. His victory very decisive at 51% in Iowa. DeSantis coming in second place at 21%. Nikki Haley third at 19%. Vivek Ramaswamy rounding out the top four at 8%. And he, of course, has dropped out. But, Matthew, this was a very decisive victory.
And this was a commanding victory for Donald Trump. Won 98 of the 99 counties. The only county he didn't win was the most liberal community, and Nikki Haley, no surprise, won that one. But it was really exciting to see this play out in caucus sites where 100, 150, sometimes 200 people gather together to express their view on this presidential race. Really exciting stuff, and Donald Trump has a tremendous amount of momentum heading into New Hampshire, and it's really hard to make the case right now that either Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis is an alternative to Donald Trump.
They talk about some of these various categories of people, right? So Donald Trump's strength. Well, in Iowa, no college degree, 63% voted for Donald Trump. MAGA supporters, 77%. Rural caucus goers, 59%. White evangelicals, 59%. Under the age of 30, 54%. It is interesting, though, Matthew, because they say that Donald Trump got the support of 77% of MAGA supporters, which means that 23% didn't support Donald Trump. That actually sounds kind of high to me at 23% not voting for Donald Trump, who consider themselves MAGA supporters. But clearly, and I've said this for a long time, you can be a MAGA supporter and still not necessarily support Donald Trump. The values of MAGA are, at this point, in my opinion, beyond Donald Trump, although he's a guy that I support. But you can support what MAGA means and is without actually supporting the man.
Well, I think that MAGA subsection that didn't vote for Donald Trump, probably a not insignificant percentage of them went for Vivek Ramaswamy. And then last night we saw he dropped out and endorsed Donald Trump. So that makes sense. Since Donald Trump ran for the first time in 2015, 2016, we've seen a generation of America First candidates come through Republican primary contests. And so you're absolutely right, Dan. There is a new wave. Much like the 1994 Newt Gingrich wave, there is a new wave of America First MAGA Republicans who are running for office and getting elected. So you don't necessarily have to vote for Donald Trump to still be an America First MAGA voter. However, I think it's much harder now to make the case that there is an alternative MAGA candidate running for president as a Republican this year.
Matthew Hurt joining us, grassroots political analyst for Nashville's Morning News and WTN. Ron DeSantis coming in at 21%. People are saying this was a big victory for Ron DeSantis, and I understand that. He came in second place, and that's a big deal for DeSantis. But as far as a path forward, he's not looking good in New Hampshire. He's not looking good in South Carolina. We're going to talk a little bit about Nikki Haley, but, very quickly, what do you think the political future is for the Florida governor?
I think Governor DeSantis is going to continue to be a successful governor in Florida. It remains to be seen what is going to happen next for him. But yeah, in New Hampshire, Nikki Haley is the second there. But in Iowa and in New Hampshire, these interest groups came out big for Nikki Haley to the tunes of tens of millions of dollars to attack not only Donald Trump, but Ron DeSantis as well. And that's sort of what we saw. Again, the margin between DeSantis and Haley is only about 2 points. For the true political nerds out there, you can watch the delegate race. Iowa has 40 delegates, and Donald Trump ran away with half of them. But Ron DeSantis looks like he's got 8, and Nikki Haley has 7. Vivek has 3, but you can presume those will be released to support probably Donald Trump. But, for the next few weeks, for those who are interested in party process, track who is picking up delegates, because that's what's going to be in the convention in Milwaukee in the summer. And that's what we saw in the 2012 cycle and the 2016 cycle, especially with Ted Cruz as the quote-unquote alternative to Donald Trump in that cycle, is these delegate races. And then in Iowa, at the caucus, after you vote in what they call a straw poll, private secret ballot for your preferred Republican candidate, people stick around and then select some leadership for the party and delegates to the county convention. I was in Story County last night, and look, as a county party chairman in my own right in Northern Virginia, they did a great job executing this caucus, and I donated a little bit of money to them because, I know what it means to be a county party chairman. I know what it means to operate the party at the local level, and I just thought they did a fantastic job, wrangling about 140 caucus goers at my location and running a smooth and efficient process.
I want to play a piece of audio for you, Matthew, talking about Nikki Haley. This is something that she said last night.
The pundits will analyze the results from every angle. But when you look at how we're doing in New Hampshire, in South Carolina, and beyond, I can safely say tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a 2-person race.
Yeah, so coming up, Matthew, I'm going to ask you the question, is it really a 2-person race? Because I'm looking at the Real Clear Politics polling, and she's not looking too hot in New Hampshire or South Carolina. We'll talk about that straight ahead. At 8:15, time to check the roads from the Paul Winkler Investment WTN Traffic Center. Thank you very much. Mostly cloudy today, a high of 20, low tonight 3. Right now, you could just feel it getting warmer, can't you? It's now 10 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Tonight, Iowa made this Republican primary a 2-person race.
That is Nikki Haley last night at 8:16 on Nashville's Morning News. So in Iowa, she comes in third at 19% after spending a total of $37 million between super PACs and her own campaign. Now, in New Hampshire, because in that audio bite, Matthew Hurt joining us, she mentioned New Hampshire, South Carolina, and beyond. So in New Hampshire, according to Real Clear Politics, Trump is at 43%. She's at 29%. Ramaswamy, by the way, at 5%, assuming that 5% goes to Donald Trump. And in South Carolina, where she was a governor, Real Clear Politics polling shows that Donald Trump is at 52%, Haley's at 29%. So I realize that there's all kinds of different polling out there, Matthew. I don't know. Is it a 2-person race? If it really is a 2-person race, I feel like that's hanging on by a thread.
Nikki Haley is going to say whatever the messaging points are to position herself as the alternative. But I don't think coming out of Iowa, I think there are 2 or 3 tickets out of Iowa, but it just doesn't make sense headed into these next few states. Donald Trump, I suspect, will perform very well in New Hampshire, and it looks like he's going to do very well in South Carolina. And if you look at the alternatives, it's Ron DeSantis or Nikki Haley. Nikki Haley has the cadre of never Trump people who have been, languishing in the Republican Party since 2016. I do think that Ron DeSantis attracts a different kind of Republican. You can, not vote for Donald Trump in a primary, but not be a never Trumper. I think a lot of folks who are voting for Nikki Haley, the Bill Kristols of the world, may sit it out in November. But I ultimately don't think that is going to matter much. But yeah, it's not necessarily a 2-person race at this point. We'll see how she does in the next few states. But I think that Donald Trump, again, a commanding victory in Iowa, a strong showing here, and I think that will only build as we head towards Super Tuesday on March 5th. And then, in fact, in Virginia, where I live and vote, I'm not there yet, but early voting for Super Tuesday starts later this week.
Very good.
Republicans will begin to cast their ballots. I plan to vote later this week, and Republicans will begin to cast their ballots in a number of states ahead of Super Tuesday.
817 Nashville's Morning News. Matthew Hurt joining us. So I think it's only a matter of time before, DeSantis drops out. And I think that, Nikki Haley, watching what we've watched in Iowa, it just feels like, and I think you and I spoke about it yesterday, where it feels like her support was sort of, made of sand. There really was no foundation to that support because you had a lot of Democrats that were supporting Nikki Haley as well. But I believe that DeSantis will drop out before Haley. And so do you think that DeSantis voters, we were talking about this earlier, will the DeSantis supporters, will they go gravitate towards Donald Trump, or will they gravitate towards Nikki Haley?
From the DeSantis supporters that I've spoken with, I think many of them, probably a majority, would, if they had one or the other to pick from, Nikki Haley or Donald Trump, I think they'd go to Donald Trump. I think there's enough difference between DeSantis and Haley, especially on foreign policy, that would give most DeSantis voters pause. Whereas Donald Trump, really in his America First agenda as president, he did have a more reserved American foreign policy that projected strength but didn't get us involved in all of these foreign entanglements. So I think the natural next step, if DeSantis were to drop out, is for a good chunk of those individuals to go to Donald Trump.
All right, so I'm gonna ask your opinion on this because I thought this was interesting. So there's two different articles, Matthew Hurt. Number one, from The Hill. Joe Biden's approval rating now is at an all-new low. It's at 31, 32, 33%, something like that. Yet, Biden campaign allies have raised $97 million in the fourth quarter of 2023. So help me with the disconnect. You've got an incredibly unpopular, clearly incompetent president who has mental acuity issues at that. Yet you've got all of these people, $97 million worth of people donating to the Biden camp in the fourth quarter of 2023. What am I missing here?
Take the never Trump element of Nikki Haley's campaign and put that on steroids. Yep. And that is the modern Democratic Party. They have Trump derangement syndrome to the nth degree. And it is as I've said on this program before, unfortunately, government is what we do to the people who lost the last election. So it's punitive. These Democrats want to destroy Trump supporters. They want to carve out the Trump element in the Republican Party, and they want to punish those individuals. We see it all the time, and that's what we're going to see. I have no doubt in my mind, if the election were held today, Donald Trump would smoke Joe Biden. Unfortunately, that's not how elections work. And we're going to see 6 months, 8 months of just a nonstop onslaught against Donald Trump. And that may affect, again, voters in the suburbs. One of the things that Ron DeSantis did really well as governor was attract Latino voters, flipped Miami-Dade, flipped women in the suburbs. And I hope that the Republican Party can find a message, if Donald Trump is the nominee, and I suspect he will be, find a message that resonates with these voters that shows Joe Biden, unfit for office. Joe Biden's policies, unfit for the American people, unsafe in our schools, unsafe on our streets. There is a really good message there that will resonate with people that Donald Trump has lost in the past, and hopefully he can muster an army of surrogates and people who can connect with those voters.
Yeah. So, and I'd mentioned earlier about that $97 million. I had a very strong suspicion that was they're not donating to Joe Biden. They're donating against Donald Trump, if you will. So, and not real surprising. All right, Matthew Hurt, one last question very quickly, because we've talked about at some point DeSantis and Haley will have to do what Vivek Ramaswamy did last night and drop out. Either one of those two or those three VP running mate material?
I don't think so. And I said on a program yesterday that I don't think Donald Trump will pick one of his primary competitors. I think that we'll see someone who balances him out. He's high energy. He's aggressive. He's an attack dog, and that's a good thing. But in 2016, we saw him select Mike Pence, and Mike Pence was much more subdued, and he had a different tone about him. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw somebody like a Ben Carson come through as a compliment to Donald Trump's proactive.
I'm sorry, Matthew. I don't know if you heard that. Was this thing on? You said Ben Carson. Just so we're clear, I love Ben Carson. I absolutely love Ben Carson. That dude is too low-key. I mean, even for me. I mean, there's Mike Pence low-key, and then there's Ben Carson low-key. And I agree with you. And that's the name that I know that everybody listening was thinking about was Ben Carson. Man, that dude is low-key. I've interviewed him 4 times, and he is just a tough listen.
When you meet him in person, he's super kind and he listens and he's got the patience of Job, which I think you're going to have to run alongside Donald Trump. And it's but I think that we'll see someone nobody who ran in this contest, in this nominating contest, but somebody who can compliment Donald Trump and who can speak to a different segment of voters to peel those people back from Joe Biden.
And listen, Ben Carson, just for you haters on the super text line, I love Ben Carson. I do. He was my guy when 2016. He was my guy. I liked Ted Cruz. I really liked Ben Carson, but I remember the moment where I was watching he and Trump and all these other folks on the debate stage, and I literally got angry at the TV and Ben Carson, who at the time he was my guy, because he didn't bring the fire that needed to be brought to win. And that was when I went to Ted Cruz, and then finally I went to Donald Trump. But it's all beside the point. Matthew Hurt, thank you very much for joining us here on Super. You triggered me with Ben Carson. And again, I like Ben Carson, but
Ben Carson is like a warm glass of milk at 8 p.m., and I think that's what America needs if Donald Trump is the nominee.
Yes, he is. You know what? Ben Carson is like a warm blanket on a cold, snowy day right out of the dryer. We could do this forever, but I'm not going to. Matthew, how could people find you on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter at Matthew Hurt, MatthewHurtt.
All right, thank you, Matthew. Very, very good analysis, and have a safe drive home.
That was good. Damn.
Damn, Mike is always on when I'd least expect it.
Oh, my.
Johnny, that's on you. You need to know when I'm going to start blurting, Johnny.
Oh, God.
8:20.
Please clap.
Please not Ben Carson. And again, I love Ben Carson. I do.
Yes.
You know what? I bet you Ben Carson would do well on a debate stage against Kamala Harris, be honest with you.
Yeah, they would, because
Yes.
He'd put her to sleep. I mean, you're right. The guy has no energy.
No, do you remember Johnny?
But he's brilliant.
He is brilliant. And you know what?
Brilliant.
He is a brilliant man.
He is loved, and especially loved in the evangelical circles.
Yes, he is.
But the thing is, man, he's just... Remember, Johnny, the last time I interviewed him? I was so excited.
Yes, you were.
And it was just like... I think in the middle of the interview, I shut off my mic and I said, Johnny, just remind me of this moment when I come to you and I say, hey, I booked Ben Carson.
We got Ben Carson.
Oh.
I love Ben Carson. I really do. And you know what? He may be able to disarm someone like a Kamala Harris. You know what I mean? So I got to go. It's 8:25. I'm afraid to even look at the super text line because people are going to be mad at me. All the Ben Carson people, which, again, I was one. Very much
That's
so.
right. You were, Brother Dan.
8:25 on WTN. Business is booming over at Stoltz Co. The question, of course, is why? It is because they build great pole barns, and more Tennesseans are figuring that out. Now, if you don't know what a pole barn is, it is anything you want it to be. It can be a classic tool and work barn. It can be a garage. It can be a place to live. A pole barn is practical, efficient, and flexible, and a pole barn from Stoltz Co. is going to stand the test of time. So, if you've got a minute, check them out at their website. It is stoltzco.com. STOLTZCO, stoltzco.com. You can also find them on Instagram or Facebook. You can call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-622-5992. Stoltz Co., where quality workmanship and great customer service is affordable. 615-622-5992 for Stoltz Co.
8:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Driving conditions still not ideal. The interstates are better than yesterday, but still have some slick spots. Ice is under the snow on the roads where crews have not been able to clear yet. Got the full forecast and a traffic update in 5 minutes. Dangerously frigid temperatures bringing back bad memories of Christmas 2022 when there were rolling blackouts to keep the Tennessee power grid from crashing. Well, the state supplier of electricity, Tennessee Valley Authority, says contractors have been working around the clock for this cold spell to protect the grid ahead of tomorrow morning when they say there will be a record. They expect a record to be set for power demand in Tennessee tomorrow morning. Nashville's official snowfall accumulation was 7.8 inches. Of that total, 6.3 happened yesterday. So in 2 days, we went over the annual snowfall amount in Nashville, which is yearly only 4.7 inches. Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
After the long holiday weekend, stock markets head into their first trading session of the week, poised to drop at the opening bell. Overnight futures were lower after some central bank officials from around the world pushed back on the idea of interest rate cuts anytime soon. Investors will be watching carefully today when Goldman Sachs reports its fourth quarter earnings. Wall Street expects earnings of $3.51 a share on revenue of about $10.8 billion from Goldman Sachs. Despite intense lobbying from the tobacco industry, the World Health Organization reports that smoking has tumbled in the last 2 decades. The WHO says 1 in 5 people, about 1.25 billion worldwide, use tobacco. The figure in 2000 was 1 in 3. And furniture giant IKEA is pushing ahead with plans to cut prices this year despite shipping disruptions in the Red Sea. The company that owns most of the IKEA stores worldwide says it's willing to operate this year on, quote, thinner profits.
All right, let's check stocks. Now that we are back to trading, the Wall Street bell has rung. The Dow is down 142 points. S&P down 17. NASDAQ down 46. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Thank you, Ken. 832, Nashville's Morning News. DT McCall's. Listen, if you need a gun safe, you can get one sales tax free with my friends at DT McCall's. They are Tennessee's largest Liberty gun safe dealer. They also offer delivery and setup. Other places going to charge you $500 for delivery and setup depending on size, but not at DT McCall's. At DT McCall's, they deliver and set up for free. And you can use your gun safe to keep anything safe. Valuables, cash, jewelry, documents, wills, deeds, and car titles as well. Whatever. Your most important valuables are safe from theft or fire with a gun safe from DT McCall's. So save big bucks on your gun safe when you shop at DT McCall's. Mention my name. Details of this sale at their website at dtmccalls.com.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Hey, guys, if you're getting ready to propose, I have a proposal for you. Get that ring at Brentwood Jewelry. Now, they help take the stress out of selecting the perfect engagement ring. Now, listen, a lot of guys don't actually involve their partners in the buying of the ring, and nearly a third of women say they would prefer to help pick that ring out. Simply go in together, visiting Brentwood Jewelry, and pick something out you both love and you can afford. Now, listen, it's all about communication. What kind of ring does she want? What kind of cut for the diamond? How big does she want it to be? There's more questions than I even know, which is why you need help. Go into Brentwood Jewelry. They have a great selection of rings, and they can also customize a ring for you. 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. Tell them Dan told you to stop by BrentwoodJewelry.com. $8:38, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Time for the gang of four, amigos. Chris Hand is back, everybody. Good morning, Chris.
Hello. How are you guys?
Brother Chris Hand.
What a dumb question. We're cold.
Oh,
Wow.
Ain't that hard, Chris?
Wow.
We're cold. It's very cold.
I got a picture from my wife. She texted me. My boys are already outside playing in the snow.
Sledding?
Not at the house. I built them a snow fort yesterday. So.
Oh, did you?
More of a snowball bunker. But
a snowball bunker.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, they're out there.
Do you do snowball fights?
We do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Now I got to ask this question because when I was a kid and I lived in Colorado, I can get through this. My brother would pack these snowballs so incredibly tight. And there was one time he threw that thing so hard and it was like ice.
Yeah.
And it hit me right in the temple. And I swear to God, it gave me a concussion.
Yeah.
And I feel like I could still feel that ice ball hitting my temple when I was like 10.
Yeah. So when we're building our snowball bunker, I bring out the spray bottle of water to coat the outside so that way it'll freeze, reinforce the walls. And
you went big time.
And I caught my son spraying a snowball, and I had to be like, no.
See, where was my mother to protect me like that?
That's not a good idea.
She was always like, oh, no, go out and play some more in the snow. And I'm like, I don't want to. I'm getting my butt kicked. I mean, oh, my Lord. Yeah.
Gravel was good in snowballs, too.
Oh, jeez.
Yes.
That always packed a bit of a surprise.
All right. I got one for you. I had a friend who would have snowballs, and he would mix a little bit of dog poop in there.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, what a
Goodness.
guy.
Now,
What
how-
a guy.
That's a bioweapon.
Yes.
What? I
germ
knew a guy
warfare.
that did that. It wasn't me.
It's germ warfare.
Germ warfare.
Yeah, you better make sure that snow is good and crunchy.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, whatever.
Don't eat the yellow snow.
That too. Don't eat yellow snow.
yes.
Did you ever actually have to tell your kids don't eat yellow snow?
Yes, I told them not to mess with the yellow snow.
You, Ken?
We have a couple dogs out there, so it's like.
Yeah, that's me too. I mean, all my life I've had dogs.
Yeah.
Ken, did you ever tell your kids actually don't eat yellow snow?
I did. I said, do not eat the yellow snow. They said, okay, Dad.
Yeah.
And then they didn't.
That's exactly
I'm
right.
surprised they, because usually kids, when you say don't do something, look what they did.
Beware of the yellow covered snowball.
That's right.
Yes.
That would also be very bad.
Yes.
Anyway, there you go. So in other words, you took the day off, and it was a great day to take off because
I played hooky. I
played
planned this
hooky.
out weeks in advance. So yeah, we went sledding.
All right,
We
very good.
went down to MTSU, hit the slopes.
Well, there was a lot of people out there.
Did you see them? It was
I did.
wild. It
I
was
did.
there was a whole gang of people, and we finally got to use the sleds that they got 2 years ago for Christmas.
Yeah.
So that was a big win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta ask you, Brother Chris, were there any incidents of adults actually plowing over kids because they were going too fast?
I didn't see any of that, but I was on high alert because some of those MTSU kids were definitely enjoying themselves.
Yes. You got to watch out for the littles, man. Whenever the big kids get out there in the snow, it can get rough.
Do you remember a couple of years ago, there was the big story about how kids were literally getting, seriously hurt sledding. And a couple of years ago, and I talked about this at the time, Riker was going down sledding, and he would be, at the time, he would have been like 7 or 8. And he's going down this hill. It's epic parenting fail. I, of course, was in charge. So he's on this sled, and he's going downhill. And don't you know that he starts sliding right towards the corner of a brick mailbox.
Oh, no.
Oh, not good.
And I am like, ooh, oh, my God. Please, God, no. And he hit this mailbox. It was shocking. He hits this mailbox square on. And so Amy and I go running down to make sure that he's okay. You know what he said? I'm fine.
Let's do it again.
Yeah, it was like, oh my God. And Amy and I, every time we drive by that mailbox, it's right on our street, we think about that time because it could have been really bad because he was headed straight for the corner of this mailbox.
Jeez.
Anyway, public service announcement, be careful. By the way, people, I mentioned your shirt earlier.
Yes.
So if you're,
I wore my Victory Lap shirt today.
Can you see that on the camera?
It's
the free Trump shirt.
It's the mugshot shirt.
It's Trump's mugshot, and then Chris. Not only does he have the Trump mugshot T-shirt on, but he also wore a jacket.
I classed it up.
That's a bit much, Chris. Because he's all excited because Trump won Iowa. Now I'm excited that Trump won Iowa too, but a jacket really. That one time you wear a jacket.
I'm not excited that he won. Like I knew that was going to happen. I'm excited for the salt mining that will happen over the next couple days. Just the DeSantis bros, the Haley bros, the Democrats.
Salt mining?
Yeah, just the epic amounts of salt that is coming out of the.
Talk about tears?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, got it. Okay.
The hashtag Never Trumpers and the left and the rhinos. There's so much salt to go around.
Yes.
We could use some of that on the roads here in Nashville.
We could.
Yeah, we could.
Actually.
The tears of the losers.
Oh, my gosh.
Wouldn't that be great?
It's actually, to be honest, it's. Did you hear the, I don't know if you listened on the way in, but Rachel Maddow. Did you hear the audio from Rachel Maddow?
Yes, and her and Joy Reid were on one.
Oh gosh!
Did you
have the Joy Reid audio?
I got Joy Reid.
Oh thank gosh! I did not get to the Joy Reid audio.
I got Joy Reid. Joy Reid was something else.
You know what? Anybody who thinks that Joy Reid, kind of like Rachel Maddow, but anybody who thinks that Joy Reid actually has any kind of credibility whatsoever, you have no credibility.
Yeah.
So this is what Rachel Maddow said for folks that didn't hear it.
Of course, there is a reason that we and other news organizations have generally stopped giving an unfiltered live platform to remarks by former President Trump. It is not out of spite. It is not a decision that we relish. It is a decision that we regularly revisit. And honestly, earnestly, it is not an easy decision, but there is a cost to us as a news organization of knowingly broadcasting untrue things. That is a fundamental truth of our business and who we are. And so his remarks tonight will not air here live. We will monitor them and let you know about any news.
So in other words, they won't air Donald Trump's victory speech in Iowa because, and you just heard Rachel Maddow talk about the excuse where, well, it's all a bunch of lies. And by the way, how many lies does MSNBC peddle every single day? And by the way, at the moment that Donald Trump was speaking, when she is saying that, here's what he was saying.
And I really think this is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together.
Yeah, he's talking about unity. Oh my God, he can't talk about unity. Oh no,
Orange Man.
Yeah.
Well, maybe Rachel doesn't believe that the former president will actually bring order back to the southern border. I mean, maybe she thinks that's a lie.
You know what? I think that they are so infused with TDS that they don't know their heads from the other
It's very
side of
Nazi.
their pie.
It's very Nazi-like for MSNBC to
Well,
do
it
that.
is because, and Ken brought up a great point earlier where he said, oh, yeah, it's up to Rachel Maddow to let us know if Donald Trump says anything newsworthy.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know what? Let's go to the phones. Who would you most want to hit with a poop-laden snowball?
Poop-laden.
Let's go to the phones. I'm sorry. Chris, what did you bring for this segment? Let's just move right along.
Well,
I mean, it's
Follow
tough,
that up,
though. Is
brother
it
Chris.
Joy Reid or Rachel Maddow? It's a tough one for me to,
But fortunately, only about a third of the nation seems to be moronic enough to listen to those two.
Yeah,
so let's, take heart in that.
Did you see the CNN entrance poll saying that 68% of Iowan voters don't believe Joe Biden won the election legitimately?
Well, he didn't.
No.
He didn't win the election. And I don't want to get into it because people always yell at me, but
I love it. My favorite thing about you is whenever this comes up, you go, "Yeah, he didn't win that. I don't want to get into it. We don't need to relitigate this."
Well, no, the thing is that because people yell at me whenever I say my opinion on the stolen election has nothing to do with ballot machines. It has everything to do with the media and the laptop from hell and those 51 intelligence agency people who said that it was not credible when it was.
You can always get to it before you even get there.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to go down the road of ballot harvesting and mail-in votes.
That too.
You can make your argument beforehand.
Yep, you certainly can. By the way, MSNBC is literally where the liars go when they have been outed. That's absolutely right. What did Joy Reid say, by the way? What's the audio you're going to play?
It's what she said was that it's a lot of Christians and that Republicans didn't vote for Nikki Haley because she's a brown lady.
What? Nikki Haley's not.
She is. She is now.
How is Nikki Haley brown? What am I missing?
This is what we got.
Okay.
She's a brown lady.
Listen.
So that's why we didn't vote for her.
Okay, so I can't wait to hear this on your show coming up.
And so it was basically Christians bad, Republicans racist.
Yeah, same old, same old.
Yeah.
Not hard. If you're can you guys, 3 of the 4 of us have done talk shows, right?
Yeah.
Can you imagine how easy it would be to do show prep every day if everything was just racist?
Yeah.
How easy would it be to do show prep?
It'd be very easy.
Everything is racist. That's your show prep.
What do they have to prepare for?
Nothing.
They know what's coming.
Yep.
And they can just say, well,
it's racist.
And they were talking last night. It was like, well, he's going to have to deal with Biden, but he didn't have all these indictments before. Yeah, well, we like them. We like them more now.
Yeah. I was going to say the indictments seem to have helped Donald Trump.
Every step of the way. If you want somebody else to throw a poop-laden snowball at, have you heard of the new superhero that is debuting today on Disney Plus and Hulu?
No.
Okay. Well, they've learned that you can't just go to one minority group anymore. You have to get a couple of these disadvantaged groups and lump them together.
Yeah.
So that way you're not carving up your audience.
Sure.
The new superhero is a deaf Native American with a prosthetic leg.
Is that a joke?
Nope.
Like, that's not from The Onion. That's real.
This is real.
Go through that again.
A deaf Native American with a prosthetic leg.
Goodness.
I would be willing to bet that in season 2 turns transgender of some sort.
Yes.
That's the only thing that's missing, I think,
that's
right?
coming. That's
on
the way.
That's the storyline for season 2.
There you go.
Are you going to watch Echo? It's the new. It's streaming today.
No.
No.
Here, what's sad is the character in Echo was actually first brought out in Daredevil, and I loved it. I think he's what is Vincent D'Onofrio's name in that? But nonetheless, it was a great series, and it's a great character. But now I'm afraid to watch it because, like I said, ever since the passing of Stan Lee, it's just trash.
Yeah.
Is Echo what you're talking about? This thing here?
Yes. So and
What's that guy's name?
Much of the dialogue in this new series is going to be through sign language as well. So you're going to have to read.
Man, that's going to be great.
That'll be compelling.
Just in case you really weren't sure, you have to read it.
There's some entertainment value right
Kingpin.
there.
That's his name, Kingpin.
All
He's
right,
a big, bald-headed villain.
I like Kingpin.
I feel like we need to assign that to someone.
Yeah.
To watch it for us.
I nominate you.
Yeah, get your jammies and get the pop out.
I'm a delegator, as everyone knows.
I feel
Let's
like
have Brother Mac do it.
And
I feel like maybe Bell. Let's make Bell K watch it.
Everybody better be nice to me, or you're going to get the assignment to watch Echo. Can you imagine Bell watching that and force Bell to do like a report at 8:35 every morning,
Like a book report.
Oh, we should totally do that.
Can we?
He's enough of a malcontent. He hates me enough. I don't think I need to give him any more reasons. Although, since he already hates me,
it's a perfect guy for the job.
Then it's a perfect guy for the job because I don't know.
You don't want to ruin any other employee's morale.
That's exactly right. Like, I don't know if Bell could hate me anymore, but I know the rest of you probably could. So I'll just keep it on Bell. Moving right along. What's coming up after the news at 9?
After the news at 9, we are going to discuss the battle for second place that took place last night, plus Vivek Ramaswamy dropping out. I have I had some takes on Vivek as we were going into Iowa. I feel like this swell of influencers that were supporting him was very inorganic. So I want to talk about that. I think that inorganic. I think that he was cutting some checks.
Really?
I do.
You think Vivek Ramaswamy was paying people to support him?
100%.
Okay.
And that may not be popular to a lot of people. That's just what I observed.
I just think it's interesting.
I think that as the weekend went on, he was paying people to support him.
Interesting.
If that's true, then he's off my list of people I would want to see as the VP for Donald Trump.
This is just a hunch that I have.
Real quick.
I'll explain why.
Real quick. Ben Carson for VP, yes or no?
I like him, but I don't think he has the energy.
Thank you. That's what I said.
He spoke at World Outreach Church. Brilliant guy. I was enamored with him speaking live. I thought he was awesome.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think
the energy's, man, just not there.
It's not there.
No.
I don't know who is going to be the VP. I don't think Vivek should get it. I like Josh Hawley. I like Tucker, obviously. But I also don't. It bugs me. Everybody's like, oh, well, he's got to pick a woman. He's got to pick someone of color. It's like, isn't that what the left? Isn't that what the left does?
That's what got us Kamala Harris.
Why do conservatives have to play this game when none of us want to play the game?
No, that's exactly right. He doesn't have to pick a woman. He doesn't have to pick a person of color. He's got to pick the right person for the job.
Amen.
Otherwise, we're telegraphing wokeness.
Yeah.
Or maybe we need a prosthetic leg, deaf
Native
American person there.
There we go.
All right.
And a superhero.
Okay, so when Bell comes in, I think that I'll have Matt. Oh, shoot. Who's doing noon to... Pamela's doing noon to 3 today. So maybe when Bell comes in, you can break the news to him that it's his job to watch Echo.
I will do my best.
Very good.
I bet you Bell will... he'll say, okay.
Yeah, and then he won't do it.
And then he won't.
Like he always does. Hey, it's 8:55, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. The Kellum Stem Cell Institute. Listen, if you're suffering from congestive heart failure, lung issues, asthma, arthritis, concussions, and other sports injuries, maybe autism or Lou Gehrig's disease, there is help for you right now from my buddy Dr. Ethan Kellum. Now, he specializes in the harvesting of and then redeploying of your own stem cells to attack inflammation in your body to help it heal. Now, this is your body providing your cells and your solutions. And Dr. Ethan Kellum can help you today. He is a doctor for the Tennessee Titans. He can be your doctor as well. They now accept care credit. 615-850-4415 for the Kellum Stem Cell Institute. 615-850-4415. Call today for your free consultation. Be sure and mention my name. The Kellum Stem Cell Institute, Kellum, KellumStemCellInstitute.com. Your body, your cells, your solution.